We have 4 more teams lined up and ready to go in our latest installment of the ESL Guns of Boom GO4 action. My name is Ketchup, and welcome. I'm joined on the desk, as always, by Jackie, the ever-stylish Jackie. First of all, how's it going, man? We're back on the desk after 2 weeks.
I know, we've had a little bit of a break, but we're back ready for some more action. There's nothing I love more than spending my Sundays with some Guns of Boom. That's what it's about.
And also, on the back of that, we have immediately the progress for you guys at home to see what we're doing and what everyone's playing for here in the Guns of Boom GO4 finals. Now, it's weekly competition, and of course, the higher you and your team place throughout the course of those weeks, you get qualification points. Now, the points matter because you get sent to the Season 1 finals later in the year, live from Los Angeles. You can see right here that the Black Bulls, they've already qualified because they are our champions of the EU Invitational. And then on a European side, because bear in mind we do Europe and North America in these cups, we leave no one out. It's EU go for first place and second place. The higher points the first and second team will earn underneath Black Bulls, they remain number 1 throughout the course of our leaderboards. They will qualify as well. And then there is another team that gets a direct invite. Over in North America, it's first, second, and third. So basically, you guys can do the maths. I'm more than sure of it. You can see it's the top 3 teams of point earnings will make it to the finals as well. And of course, another direct invite at the same time. So there's plenty of different ways here and there to get into the Season 1 finals. And with a life-changing sum of money, 120k, that really is something pretty substantial, Jackie.
Yeah, these teams are going to want to try and pick up that cash prize, right? Not only that, it's a big deal for the American side. They haven't had their first LAN in Guns of Boom yet. We saw that in Europe over at Poland, but America, they've not been able to show off their skills on LAN, and that's what makes it so interesting.
That, to me, is one of the most, I think, exciting story points, which is who is the best team, Europe and North America. There's been constant talk back and forth over, of course, every region is going to feel like they are the most dangerous. And, moments away later in the year, we're actually going to see it put to the test. Now, we also have currently the EU standings to see where our teams are currently ranked. You can see here it's Forza Esports, pretty comfortable. They have a substantial lead, and then it's back-to-back, and then Jug, Knights of Honor underneath them. So these are kind of the teams that we have to watch out for. It's first and second. So currently it's Forza Esports and back-to-back that are holding the title. But look at these points. Knights of Honor, they're not far behind.
Yeah, and the new driving instructor team's looking good as well with Overtake and Stop there.
I was going to bring attention to that. There's 2 names that are almost too perfect, but sometimes the bracket gods are kind to us.
That's what you need. And that'll be interesting actually to see a couple of these new teams. There's the Italian squad as well. Is that a new mix for Triada? I don't feel like we've seen Triada swap before. I
feel like some of these teams, they do change their clan tag quite regularly.
They switch it up,
that could be a different mix. I know actually Triada, before there was Forza Esports, there actually was Triada. So very well, there might be sort of like a new mix in there. I know for those that that may have just joined us here, Forza Esports formerly were 2 different Triada clans, and they had essentially combined forces and formed the team that consisted of what they thought were the best players.
The Quinlay and the what are the other factions? Go on, bust it out. It's time to bring out the Mortal Kombat history there. The 2 tribes, they came together after Sub-Zero got...
it's the Lin Kuei.
There we go.
This is the Lin Kuei, mate. Yeah. And there was the Takunin as well.
That's it.
That's separate. Man, that's some old school lore for another title. But here we go. We have the GO4 standings as well. This is essentially to find out how we got to where we are today. The GO4 Cups. The cups you see today, they don't count towards the overall invitational standings. In the Season 1 finals, they are the weekly cups that everyone can enter. But whenever you play for these GO4 Cups, there is a cash prize, and it's paid out to the top 3 teams. You have to kind of play in an individual cup just to get some money, and obviously play on stream, have your games commentated, get the all-important tournament experience. And as you can see, this is definitely the closest a GO4 Cup has ever been. Because you can see here it's Knights of Honor, Overtake, and Forza. Forza and Overtake completely deadlocked on points, and then Knights of Honor just underneath them off a pretty weak couple of showings, Knights of Honor. They were the strongest team by far in the GO4s when we'd started off in Europe. And then as time had gone on, they kind of started to drop off a little bit compared to the fact that as well their competition was getting better. And I feel like they weren't really able to reach that next level. They just kind of reached a high level early, which most of the teams couldn't do. But here, this feels like a bit more of a free-for-all, to be honest.
It does. And actually, the new names have made a little bit of a base to build off of themselves. Overtake in second space. They're living up to the name. They're starting to work their way up there, but obviously locked for the same points as well. So there is actually more to come from them. Stop have left themselves in a 7th place. It's not as good, but obviously, again, living up to the name.
Seeing a team, at least in the top 8 runnings, is always going to be impressive, because that's the thing about these weekly cups, is the teams that you guys watch on stream, and you would have seen them in the European Invitational, you know, they really are the world's best Guns of Boom players currently. And because they play in these weekly cups, there is a good chance that if you yourself are an aspiring Guns of Boom player, you know for a fact that you're going to bump into these teams. If you have, you know, favorite players, or, you know, if you're a fan of a certain team, you're probably going to bump into them, at least in the early stages. So definitely get involved in that weekly competition. But it's the unpredictability for me. Now, we're currently having, you know, it's the top 4 teams we'll see on stream. So it's 2 semi-finals and then a 3rd place playoff to determine the first bit of cash payout. And then, of course, we finish the show on our grand finals. But I think this even split of scores could make for an unpredictable week. We see a lot of 2-0s, a lot of basically body bag series. And I'm wondering, Jackie, if it's going to be the same today, or whether things will finally be a little bit closer.
I think we're going to have some close games here, hopefully. I mean,
we've got everything crossed,
you
just
know,
in case.
It's always looking like the scene's been getting competitive after every game's gone on. Obviously, as the weeks go by, more and more teams are getting involved. We're actually seeing growth there as well with new teams coming in. So it always bodes well for interesting nuances to be added.
Now, on the subject of the newer teams, I'm actually really excited to see this because I've not seen it yet. We have the bracket of the matches we're going to see played out today. Now, let's look at the top 4. And there is going to be somewhat of a level of unpredictability. That's because Black Bulls and Back-to-Back played in this top 8. And of course, we don't see the top 8 on stream. It's always about the semi-finals. So Back-to-Back, for the first time, they went from being 2nd place machines, we would see them all the time, to not even being present in our top 4 situations. Forza Esports versus Black Bulls. That's actually a run back of our last GO4 Grand Finals, so we're already going to kick things off with a fantastic series. And then underneath, it's going to be a little bit of new blood. Overtake versus Jug Knights of Honor. So this is kind of exactly what we hoped we'd see. There's a new team in there. I'm sure Overtake have been around in competitive anyway, otherwise they would not be here. But that said, it's the chance, I think, for all of us at home to finally see this team in action. And I got to say, Back-to-Back, not making it into top 4, I think they got an unfortunate seed going off against, you know, Black Bulls immediately. Yeah. But in tournament, sometimes that's just how the cookie crumbles.
It's very true. The other new teams that we saw coming through, Stop, they do get 1 map there of Overtake in that matchup. Italia PR2, they were struggling a little bit. They do go out quite rapidly to Jug. Jug haven't looked amazing. I think it's fair to say it seems like they've been a bit of a downward spiral. Are they going to be able to get themselves back into it and show up here today? Because if they actually do get overpowered by Overtake, and when we see their roster, if that is all new faces, that could be a bit of a scary aspect, possibly showing that Jug have slowed down a little bit too much.
I think on the flip side of that, even though obviously the GO4 Cups do not count towards the final standings for the Season 1 finals, because it comes down to the weekly cups, you know, just to remind you guys at home, they are technically 2 separate entities. The GO4 is an opportunity for teams to play for cash every couple of weeks and appear on stream and get the all-important experience, but it is those weekly cups that matter towards the Season 1 finals. Now, if Jug Knights of Honor, if these guys are able to get grand finals today, I think a minimum 2nd place performance is going to be a nice morale boost for them, if anything, because, you know, going back to our earlier standings, they're not really in bad form. They are in a good position where if they start to play well and they start to play like the Knights of Honor that we remember, we could definitely see them in LA. Now, personally, I'm really eyeing up this next matchup. Forza Esports and Black Bulls. This is a rematch of our grand finals 2 weeks ago. And Forza, they had, I think, the weakest showing at the European Invitational. There's no getting around it. They were a newly formed team, of course. And just to kind of, you know, remind you guys, give you a quick fire history lesson. It was the 2 Triada rosters. We saw one of the Triadas actually in the bracket.
Yep.
But there were 2 Triada teams that had formed of basically 2 players from each, I believe it was, to kind of form Forza Esports. And even Forza Esports is the first org in Guns of Boom. It's the first professional team that's actually put their foot into this game. And because they weren't together for very long, I think it had quite a big impact on their performance at the Invitational. They didn't do very well, but they knew they could do better. And when we saw them a couple of weeks ago in our first GO4 since the Invitational, they looked incredibly dominant, and they were in our grand finals. And at that point, I was actually thinking they were going to take it all the way. So they have another chance to do it today, but they have to play the grand finals basically immediately in our first semi-final against Black Bulls, who are the best team in the business right now.
Yeah, that's true. Obviously, from the EVE Invitational, they smashed it there when they were under Yakuza. They've since rebranded, but they've been looking dominant. Everyone on that team seemed pretty good. It's also the fact that they're switching it up a little bit. We're seeing newer players and subs being used to actually build up a bit of experience. So when they do decide which squad is going to be going to LA, because they always have that confirmed spot, we'll know who's going to be there. Because that's one of the more interesting issues at that point. When it comes to LA, who's actually going to be fielded by that team? Because it looks like they've been switching up a little bit. We've seen rotation of players quite a lot.
Yeah, and I think it makes sense. It's kind of like you said, if they're already confirmed, I think Black Bulls kind of have a unique element of luxury. They know they're going to be there, so they can start to experiment a little bit and decide what is our best formation going into finals. So up next, we actually have got our picks and bans. It's not going to be like previously in our Go4s. These teams now get to choose what maps they both want to play on and want to take away from their opponents. As you can see down here on the bottom of the screen, graphic-wise, it kind of corresponds to the teams. It's pretty self-explanatory, but as you can see, Black Bulls banned out Atrium, Europe Street and Farming Complex. Forza Esports banned out Skyscrapers, Europe Square, and the Wild West Saloon. So the maps we're going to see is Paradise Island and then Military Warehouse. And if it goes to a map 3, we're going to finish things off on the subway station. So I actually personally am a huge fan of the new pick and ban system.
Yeah.
I much prefer it on a personal note to the set rotation, because the set rotation was great for experience. But I feel like it almost became a bit predictable in terms of teams. They now, they know what maps they're going to play, and they can just prepare into the ends of the earth. Whereas I feel like the map bans and picks, it opens up a high level of both unpredictability to what we're going to get on stream and also strategy. You can pick the maps that you like, but more importantly, take the maps away from the opponent that you know they're best at. And it just kind of creates that mind game before the match has even started. Now, you're familiar with the map veto system coming from, like a CSGO background and stuff like that. How important are these map pick and bans in competitive play?
It's a much bigger deal now, especially using the system we're actually going to go for here with the map veto, where players do have a chance. It adds an extra layer of skill to the game, because obviously you can counter map picks, you can have your preferred picks, especially where the game does have a lot of interesting categories for the game modes, right? We've got King of the Hill, it's all a bit different, capture point. You're not always just going to be on team deathmatch. It is going to be varied. So you need to know what teams excel in what. We've seen that in the past, where a team like Black Bulls might have an off day where they'll just go huge on TDM. Everyone will be landing their shots, but if they're struggling a little bit on the day because of communication, they might not have the best matchups on more of an objective-based game mode. So that is the extra level you have. It's not just about the maps, it's the game modes as well.
Well, speaking of game modes, we have our first one of the day coming up momentarily. I believe we have our players in the lobby, and in a few moments' time, we're going to be locked and loaded. Paradise Island, one of my favorite maps in the game. It's so aggressive. King of the Hill can be fast and furious, but on this map in particular, I feel like controlling the spawns, I say this every time because it is so prominent. The best offense is, both a good defense, but the ability to just trap the other team if you have the teamwork to pull it off.
It's also not to be confused with Island Paradise, which is a game where you farm pineapples.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't even know that.
But we're in. The pineapple farming has begun.
Trivia time with Jackie. But here we go. It's going to be immediately a back and forth game, as you can kind of grow to expect. Forza Esports on the left and Black Bulls on the right. And I feel like Black Bulls, again, they're going in with Excellence, Romeo, Divine King, and Lord Mano. This is a very traditional lineup. They do try to mix and match here and there, but I think they know they're against Forza. They know this team is dangerous, and they have to go in with their big guns.
More of what we used to see coming out from Black Bulls here, though. Lord Mano's back on the squad, Divine King, Romeo, Excellence. It's a little bit more bog standard, and they are bringing it back. They've got site control. It's 171 to 244 right now in terms of the points, Ryan, but Forza, a very different roster. Quite a few player changes, but Larsen's definitely being the big dog in the server.
Yeah, and I think Larsen, we've seen him so consistently. If there's at least going to be one person that maintains consistency, it's important to have at least one player there. As you can see, Forza, they're sort of starting to trickle away a little bit of a win. Black Bulls might try and undo some of that progress, taking the point and stunting the growth, but immediately, Stason returns the favor. Lord Mano with the pick-off, though. That Barracuda, so much damage in one shot, especially if you can get those critical headshots that just do exponentially more. The grenade back and forth comes through. Is it going to be enough? No, they actually both miss, which allows Black Bulls to establish a bit of control, and here we go. They've pushed things back a little.
And this is what they do excel, actually. Once they've got themselves in a position where they have point control, Lord Mano's always been very useful at setting them up in good post position so they can hold angles and just hold crossfires. It's basically what they're doing right now. Push comes back through. collection of frags do go their way. There is an early trade, though, in the sniper duel. Nade to the face from Divine King, but Larson comes back in to try and make a meal out of it.
Now, the thing about Lord Mano, if memory serves me right from the Invitational, he really was kind of like that backbone.
He was the big man IGL.
Yeah, he was the guy making all the shots. He was the one both also giving them morale in between rounds, in between maps. The person that's kind of, letting everyone kind of recuperate and saying, we've got this, let's make sure we can push forward, giving the team the confidence they need. And that, even online, will translate. Look at the comeback they're starting to make. Dead even from this point. I feel, Jackie, this has to be foreshadowing.
Seems like it. They're bringing it back right now, but Lord Mano does go down. Unfortunately, Larson takes himself out with a bit of a fumble with a grenade. Excellence gets given a golden opportunity as well to now build. Nate to the face, but stays alive, carries on the damage, and they're soaring ahead with a point lead now.
The problem is when you rush a team, you need to make sure that you're landing as much damage as physically possible. Excellence is in a bit of an interesting position. He might be able to get one more porcupine shot before he inevitably drops. He's not going to survive another one. Excellence. Stason actually zigs when he should have dags, looks the wrong way, and that's going to allow Lord Mano to collect and pick things up. Larson taking big damage too. Not really able to get much going, and this insane back and forth, it's only ever going to favor Black Bulls because now they have a substantial lead.
Point A captured.
Virag is on the point. He has got control, but he's sprinting out of there. Goes straight in. Excellent. Just given the free frag. Able to double it up as well. Stays alive. Now they've got support. As soon as they recap it, it should just storm in their lead. They've got too big of a point lead towards the end here.
Exactly. And, as long as they hold the point, that steady trickle of points will start to add up too. We're kind of reaching that 50-point mark, and this match is going to be over. It is first to 1,000. 1,000? I was going to say 1,000, ladies and gentlemen, but I was thinking so much about that sentence that I kind of played myself a little bit. But we know this is going to be game over. Black Bulls will win this map. The natural trickle is uncontestable. You kind of reach a certain point in both control points and King of the Hill where a match can become unwinnable so long as you're holding the objective.
Yeah. And that's pretty much what we saw there. Obviously, it does come back to the point that we spoke about Black Bulls, right? These are a team that, when have their normal roster with Lord Mano, we expect more of a tactical style of gameplay. I was going to say tactical style of CS there. That would have been very different. But a tactical style of gameplay is what we normally see come out. Capture the points, King of the Hill, they prefer that, right? They know how to gain control, hold a crossfire, they spread out and they set themselves up. They just play off angles pretty much. Like we saw with Excellence. He stayed alive for so long because he would just sit in an off angle, only peak when he had support, and knew when to back off and when to engage. You see a lot of players that still don't fully understand when to do that. And one of the most common ones we see, Ryan, is when they'll go in, they'll get their early kills, then push straight into the spawn. That overcommitment, Black Bulls never really overcommit. They always play very smart.
If you kind of look at these replays, at no point do they ever really extend beyond that second chalet. It's always pretty much, sometimes teams can try and sort of like trap the spawn and keep the aggression going, but I almost feel like Black Bulls picked some more defensive locations where the second they actually held the point, they would sit at certain areas that just made them very hard to crack into. They would actually pick those locations. Excellence, kind of what you were talking about. Those kind of moments where he goes around a corner and sits in the one side of the screen you're probably the least likely to go. Because if you've spawned by blue side and you've just come through your own chalet, why would you ever turn right when the entire enemy team is going to be on the left? There's no way you're going to look there. So Excellence, knowing technically he's out in the open, if someone's going to be around that angle and they're on the other side of the map, they're never going to look near his location. And that's basically just that next level of understanding. If I was in their shoes, I certainly wouldn't look to the right. So I'm going to sit in the right and then get a guaranteed porcupine. He was weak too. Like he had to really bet on them not going where he thought they were going to go because one porcupine shot, he was dead.
Yeah, well, it's like mazes, mate. If you're ever in a maze, just always go to the left. You know you're eventually going to get out. That's why no one peeks the right angle and he wins every fight.
That never works for me.
No?
Anytime I'd play a video game where you're in a maze, like a hedge maze, and you have to hold the left, it would never work. 100% failure. I'd just get even more lost if anything.
Just get confused.
Yeah, just bad maze design on that part. But up next, we should be going into our next map momentarily. That's the one thing I actually like about these Guns of Boom tournaments is that getting into a lobby and getting a map up is lightning fast, immediately.
It is pretty quick.
Well, I think it's both a good and a bad thing because if you're the team, you haven't got a lot of time to kind of go, right, hang on, what did we do wrong? Wait, we're going into the next map, so let's go. On the spot adaptation, that's where communication is actually key, and that's why Lord Mano on the side of Black Bulls is actually such a player, I think, in competitive Guns of Boom, is because he's such a team player for the rest of his team that he can give them important information in a very short space of time.
Yeah, it's true. It's also one of those games that luckily it is a little bit more fast-paced because the idea of the fact that obviously with fatigue you're going to be slowed down a lot. It's a lot of, holding a heavy object in your hand. If your phone's quite heavy and you've got weak wrists, can weigh you down. So that's where they have to be able to survive so long. Imagine a lower bracket crawl, mate, where you're holding a phone for 7 hours.
You know, that's actually a good point as well. Just things like general player fatigue is more than just regular pad.
You've got to have those rapid thumbs.
You do, and like some of the players, they hold it and they use their fingertips as well. Different strategies, man, different strategies. We actually have the current stats of how the previous match went. Have a little bit of a look and see how our players did. Excellence. That is a name to live up to. 270 points. Such a player in this match. And kind of looking at the points of everyone, no one really didn't drag their weight. Everyone in this match pretty much did well. I think that's why it was so close. There was a certain point where we were almost like, what, I think it was like 590 points each. You actually rarely see that level of evenness in a King of the Hill because there is that natural point climb. We were at deadlock for about 30 seconds before we kind of had the next significant play. And that's why at this level of play, players don't overextend. They don't want to give up a single kill because we've seen how close these maps can be. And if you let one thing slip, it could basically be the entire match off the back of what you didn't.
Yeah. And again, obviously, the only thing there in terms of the overall kills, both teams pretty similar. Black Bulls do have a small edge in terms of the points because they were playing from the site. They were able to get control. But a lot of the time, the strategy was just cap it. Excellent. So just play on the off angles, cut off people that had come in. And the rest of them basically just held crossfires from the other little chalets to watch the site. And it's pretty easy at that point. It's so open. You've got so much vision from either position. If you're the team that has to try and re-aggress and take the control, you're going to struggle. You really need to have good teamwork on that. And Forza, as much as individually, we've always seen they excel, the teamwork is the new thing. That's what we've got to look into, right? Because there's been a few player changes here. It's not exactly the same roster as what we saw last week, and that's where you wonder. If they're switching things up, what's the level of consistency at?
Well, what I do know we're going to be switching up is the map. And as we go moments away into our second match, and just to remind you guys at home, this is a best of 3 in our semi-finals in the Military Warehouse Team Deathmatch. We had our fair share of TDM in the last GO4, and it really gave us a good opportunity to kind of see what high-level TDM looks like. And the objective is simple. You know, if you are 2 high-level teams, you're pretty much going to trade things back and forth up until that final moment, the final minute, the final 30 seconds, or even more likely, the final 100 points that you and your team need to make. If you're playing well, no one's really going to be dominating up until the final moment where every single kill matters.
Yeah, you get down to that last minute of crunch time. That's where it gets serious, but the initial game is a lot of trading. But you can see teams that edge out a little bit further ahead. Forza are definitely one of them. They know how to play a pretty mean half of TDM. They are slayers at heart.
I love that angle, by the way. That third-person camera where we had pretty much... Look at that! I've never seen that. That gives us so much knowledge. Look at the fight. We have every angle. Look, Divine King, the triple kill. And we got a nice bird's eye view of it. Check it out.
I feel like I'm watching over the Thames right now from a plane. It's beautiful.
They're like ants, worker ants, scurrying around with their pitiful weapons.
Well, let's see if they can try and bring it back and lift 10 times their own weight. Divine King goes on a killing spree. Will start to punish. There is the response, though. Forza, they have had enough of this messing about. They try and get control in their favor. They're only a few points behind, and it's that constant trading. This is what we expect to see. Forza are running more of a close setup. The buddy system comes back into effect, Ryan.
But I think why Black Bulls are currently winning is because they have been able to get those significant kills. We saw a killing spree and 2 triple kills. And obviously, you know, just a reminder, we haven't even talked about it today, is those extra kill bonuses that you get, you know, butchered kills, headshots, doubles, triples, grenade kills, they all give you extra points. And in Team Deathmatch, those extra luxury points are really important. Romeo getting that killing spree, look at the burst of points he's just given Black Bulls. They are now so far in the lead.
They were trading really nicely there as well. The fight they went for initially, they both double naded at the same time. Everyone's armor was gone. Everyone was like half HP. They peaked together and they just destroy them. So Black Bulls are playing really smart Guns of Boom right now. Sounds weird. See, it sounds fine when you say really smart Counter-Strike. Really smart Guns of Boom. Really smart gaming. They're gaming, Ryan.
E-sporting. And look at these guys go. Lord Mano gets one of those grenades. Unfortunately, is not able to secure the deal. Larson gets a killing spree, which is going to bring the team a little bit back into the fight. Unfortunately, it's not enough to keep Forza in the fight. Excellence now looking for an angle. Gets a combo breaker, so he's able to shut down one of the dangerous players on Forza, but unfortunately drops himself. Things are looking a little bit more even, roughly 50 points behind. That's not impossible to work with, but as long as we kind of see these headshots and these ranged kills come through, Romeo getting a point blank, a triple kill now to boot, it's all going to start to add up. Brutal kill as well, that point blank. Looking good. First to 500 points, Black Bulls. I think I favor them. I definitely think I favor these guys, but never say never. If we learned anything from last week, those crazy comebacks were definitely plentiful. I think Black Bulls, they may be trying to get a little bit more eager to try and secure the win. Trickling in a little bit. Not an impossible win for Forza, but definitely hard. As long as they give up these kills, Excellent gets 1. They do drop 2, but is that going to be enough? I wonder.
They would have to have no one die at this point to be able to win it, and they're still pushing it individually. They're risking it. Lord Mano gets an easy kill. Excellence just pushes straight through. He is going to get overwhelmed as both of them double up. They're finding the frags, but surely it is too little too late.
Yeah, Stayson's 1, and there it is. I was about to say, Stayson is just 1 grenade, 1 headshot, 1 anything in particular away from being taken out, and that's going to allow Black Bulls 2 with a perfect 500-point lead.
Yeah, that was nice.
Yeah, that win. Nice, clean victory right there. But Black Bulls, they are basically the best team in the business, and that's why. They go up against, last GO4's grand finalists, and whilst it kind of seemed a little bit close last time, today it was just, another day in the office, just pack it up. We're now going to see this team in grand finals looking as good as ever.
Yeah, and that's Lord Mano back on the team as well. We didn't have him here last week, obviously 2 weeks ago. So the response of him now coming into effect, I'd say he was easily one of the more important players from the EU Invitational, purely off the back of how he kept the team level-headed and his calling. His calling was the only real developed calling I think we've seen in Guns of Boom right now. I don't know if you'd agree with that, but it seems like he was the one that actually had a set game plan from the start and was very active in what he wanted to do. And I think that does give them a huge edge, Ryan.
It will, especially in the grand finals too, because as the level of competition ramps up and we go further and further into the bracket, that's where teams normally, or players individually, I think, can start to they start to flake out a little bit. They start to get into maybe in their own head. They start overthinking it, like, well, wow, I'm 1 series away from winning the highest amount of money we can earn this week, and it's on stream, and everyone gets to watch it. And that's definitely the point where teams can start to be a little bit affected. But I think, Black Bulls, I don't think they're the kind of team that are being phased by that anymore because of their constant appearances in both the weekly cups, the GO4 cups, which obviously streamed every 2 weeks, a great opportunity for them to get experience, but also winning that European invitation.
Oh, yeah.
The only one team in the entirety of competitive Guns of Boom right now has been able to experience what it feels like to win a LAN for this game. So with that in mind, they kind of have this air of confidence I don't think any other team can currently contest with.
Yeah, they've got an edge, like a ruler.
They do. A hard
straight
sincere
edge. Yeah.
The straightest of edge.
People aren't going to be ready for it. It's a long edge as well. It's quite a big one. It's one of the bendy ones from Asda.
The ones that if you actually try to bend it, because your friends had bendy rulers.
Yeah, well,
you bend that,
shatterproof
ones. Yeah,
that's the one, because people don't realize shatterproof just means it won't explode into lots of little bits. It still means it will break.
Man, that needs to be a team name as well. If a team tries to rebrand, Shatterproof is one of the best. We'll brand that.
Flexi ruler.
Yeah, we'll end the next Guns of Boom tournament as Shatterproof. Just that
to be fair,
squad.
it does sound like either a new Mortal Kombat character or a comic book character.
Does.
Shatterproof.
That's actually. We'll talk about this another time. I'm a big fan of that, actually. I think we've had quite an epiphany here. But up next, we're going to see a little bit more of Knights of Honor. So I'm actually really curious to kind of see how those guys do. We have some sort of new blood as well, moments away from finding that out also. While we get our next semi-finals up and running, we're going to go for a quick break. So don't go anywhere, because Guns of Boom GO4 finals will be back in a few moments. Hello everybody and welcome back. This is the ESL Guns of Boom GO4 finals for this previous 2 weeks. And up next we have our second semi-final of the day. It's going to be Overtake versus Jug Knights of Honor. My name is Ketchup and I'm joined on the desk as always by Jackie. Now our next semi-finals does interest me quite a lot, purely because we haven't seen Knights of Honor be able to reach, I think, the next level that they have been able to previously in our GO4s. And Overtake, a team that we haven't really seen before, so very unpredictable, I would say. Yeah,
a little bit of a new face, obviously. Once we actually find out who's on that roster, that's going to be interesting. If it's a whole hog of new players, then that'll be good, because it's new blood. The entire time we've done this, obviously, for me as well, since the EU Invitational to now, it's always been the same players and the same teams, just rotating around a little bit. If that's a whole hog of new boys, that'd be a nice one to witness.
Now we have our map rotation already. We can find out the matches that we're going to be playing. So the banned maps, Europe Street, Wild West Saloon, and Subway Station for Overtake. And then Jug Knights of Honor, Paradise Island, Europe Square, and Farming Complex removed from the play. Now the matches we're going to be playing off is Atrium, Skyscrapers, and Military Warehouse. Atrium is one of the, I think, of all the control point maps, it feels like this is definitely one of the most favored. We see it the most in a pick and ban environment. Teams are just very, very comfortable in this. It's rarely banned out. Skyscrapers, again, a team deathmatch map that a lot of players seem to enjoy because you have a lot of angles. It's quite unpredictable in a lot of ways, and I think you have a lot of different angles that otherwise don't exist in other maps. A lot of the TDM maps are quite standard, symmetrical spawns, point in the middle, that's kind of it. Not that it's a bad thing, but it definitely means that things are a bit more traditional, I think, and then Skyscrapers kind of throws a spanner into the works.
I think this is more of a standard map pool, right? This is what we've had pretty consistently. If not all 3 of these maps, at least 2 out of the 3 for the majority of series we've seen so far throughout the GO4s. Atrium's always there. If teams want to play control point, it's pretty much a consistent pick. Military Warehouse is a pretty common one. Skyscrapers, I mean, how many games did we have literally last-minute comeback on Skyscrapers last time?
It happened like almost too many times to count, and not even in last GO4, but previously as well. We have our next matchup ready to go. I believe the players are in the lobby and getting ready, but Atrium, we don't get to see this very much in the GO4 Cups. We saw it lots in the European Invitational, and I'm excited because we get an opportunity to kind of see what the rotations tend to be like for teams. In control points, there's a lot of set loadouts. Players favor certain weapons, not because of their damage, but because of their speed. The ability to get from one control point to another, but also be able to double up and have massive combat ability. Very, very important. Things are quite similar. They've taken a point each as we go into this first map, but right now it's Knights of Honor that have a temporary lead. Feels like they have 2 points versus Overtake's 1.
Very aggressive early fight, 200 points to 140. Jug had a little bit of a lead to play with, but they might actually start losing it. The damage coming back through. The Overtake players not looking familiar to me, but definitely coming in strong in the early game, finding these frags.
You know there's some new players because they have some hot new customizations. Look at QUA. He's got my personal favorite of the tournament. Looking swanky. Unfortunately, the customization's not enough for them to currently win, but right now, they are resembling a little bit of a comeback, but as Point B gets captured, it starts to make things escape another time. Knights of Honor looking good, but they're not too far in the lead, I have to say.
No, it is pretty neck and neck, and this is what you want to see coming through. Hot Pepper, not looking absolutely boiling right now. Definitely not a Ghost Pepper as he does go down, and they do try and continue this lead. Jug, they're building. Overtake do have small moments of actually getting a couple of frags and clearing, but it's that site control where they're lacking. They're just being out-rotated right now by Jug. T-Mac gets ambushed by QUA. I believe T-Mac sometimes has YouTube in his name, so one YouTuber to another says, "See you later, mate." And Overtake, they're just under 100 points behind, but as they get this wonderful sequence of kills, they're looking pretty good. A double kill is going to give them a little bit of extra points. Jug Knights of Honor remain in the lead. Quite back and forth, and you're actually going to notice again, it comes back to the loadouts. That sort of scout rifle that everyone likes to take, giving you the extra movement speed. It's not really used as a weapon. It's just used as a means to swap to an item that gives you faster movement speed to go from one point to another. Just like whipping the knife out for the extra speed to be able to get from point to point. This is nice though. Overtake have actually had a pretty consistent grip across the 3 points. The majority of the time they've had C and A control. B's now coming back into effect as Ilos and the gang have arrived. Let's see if they can deal with Hot Pepper and Co though. First frag goes their way. Janny doubles it up as he is slaying, but there's an instant response from Overtake. It's neck and neck, about 100 points behind, but Jug are the one in the lead.
Yeah, Shrapnel really needed to try and take that point, but unfortunately it's not enough. And just remember, it's first to 1,200 points, so there's still a little bit of wiggle room, but I feel like as long as Knights of Honor hold more control points in their favor, we might be on borrowed time. Overtake need to both get more kills and establish more map control in less than a minute's time, or this map is over.
Yeah, Jug have been really good in the post-take rotates. They've been able to lose control, zip over, and lock it down to be able to constantly have that slow trickle of points to help them out. They're 100 points away now. Overtake still haven't hit the 1K mark. They're struggling, and it seems like they'll probably just lose out on the slow income of points here.
I think we've reached that point, definitely, because Overtake, they're having to take 1 point at a time, and that kind of introduces an entirely new level of problems. Like, they're looking pretty good, but I feel like it's been this slow trickle the entire time, and even if now it looks like they might have a hope in hell of winning, we've reached that point of no return. Knights of Honor are definitely going to win this, I think, because just look at the point difference. There it is. 1.2K is going to do it, and to be honest, a very, very close match. Maybe if the start went different, maybe if they had a better straight off the starting line point, we might have seen something different, but Knights of Honor taking map 1, but they had to fight for it.
Yeah, Jug do pick it up, and I mean, it seemed like they were in charge for a good majority of it. Again, it comes down to the more experienced side, basically just understanding when to take point control, when to back off from fights, and they were rapid, right? If they lost C, they instantly would recap A, they'd always go for those back caps and keep it moving. In terms of the firefights, it was close though, so that only bodes well for the rest of the series. I mean, if this goes to 3 maps, it could be an interesting one.
Opens up for our next 2 maps too, which is Skyscrapers and then the Military Warehouse. So if potentially Overtake are able to frag a little bit better than Knights of Honor, then of course Team Deathmatch will open up the chance for that to be their playground, and with it being Skyscrapers and the Military Warehouse, that pretty much means maybe that's going to be their favor. Maybe this is their moment to win, but with how things went on Atrium, I've got to say it's a bit unpredictable. I don't think I can say with absolute confidence, yeah, Knights of Honor, they're going to win this 2-0 easily, because that first map looked a bit too close for comfort, I think.
Yeah, I mean, like, what was the 800-point mark? There was a good grace period where it could have flip-flopped either way, and it was just that Jug actually were able to start to lock down a 2-point hold for a good, consistent, like, 30 seconds. At that point, you're not going to be able to break it. The Overtake just weren't getting back into the game, and it all stemmed from there, really. So obviously a struggle on the first map, but the second map is going to be a bit more interesting. This is where we do always have that potential resurgence, and Jug, I don't know, they kind of defeat themselves sometimes, it seems. It seems like, they either have really good games or they will just walk into the server and struggle. So if they give an opportunity for Overtake, they could try and, slip in from the side lane.
Unpredictability is one of those things that I think can be both a blessing and a curse. If Knights of Honor are able to go into grand finals and get minimum 2nd place today, not only is it a nice little chunk of change for playing Guns of Boom for one day, which is never a bad day in the office, it's also a chance for them to prove that they can maintain their status on the top. Just to remind anyone here that may have just joined or may be unfamiliar about the history of Guns of Boom already. And it's kind of crazy how we're already saying the history of Guns of Boom, but it's been a fair few months now, almost a year of competitive competition. And Knights of Honor were originally like the top dogs of Europe. So it'd be nice to kind of see them climb back up into the stature we know this team is capable of. But if the new blood managed to take them out, or, pardon the expression, overtake them a couple of times, then maybe that's going to be the way we see it happen. But we have up next Skyscrapers is our map. And personally, it's hard to say. Knights of Honor, I think, have a higher chance through experience alone. But TDM is an entirely different beast anyway.
That's true. Plus, Skyscrapers is just a map that seems to lend itself to the very last 30 seconds being just incredibly hectic between either side. There's so many positional angles, especially from where you're seeing right now on this part of the map, right? That's where it always comes down to. Big clutch rounds where people have to push in, try and take 3-on-4 fights, and that's what decides it. So it actually will be quite a tight affair. I think this is probably going to be the closest map of the series.
For sure, and it's the map where close matches are plentiful. Max spills the first blood and actually gets a triple kill to boot. So kind of going back and talking about how important those early point bursts can be. Getting a triple kill straight off the bat gives you way more points than usual. So Overtake having a wonderful start. That can be swiftly undone if Knights of Honor are able to play well. Dobar gets one. Max eventually drops, actually, before he can get a killing spree. Brutal kill to give a little bit of an extra bonus, but Overtake currently in the lead, but it's a tiny lead.
Isn't a Dobar basically just bread?
I don't know. It sounds like that, but I don't know. I don't want to make the bold claim just in case I'm wrong.
Loves a Dobar, this guy. T-Mac low, does go down. He's been hot peppered. He has been taken quickly out of the server. Danny, though, showing off his butchering skills. He cuts down the shrapnel, looks for the follow-up frag on Hot Pepper. They're going to peek him together. Support of Ilos works out well, but there's a backstab from Max. And Overtake barely getting ahead with an extra 50 points.
Max is having a good game right now, and going back into that level of consistency that, you know, if you can play Team Deathmatch properly, it's hard to call who the winner is or who the team in the lead is up until the final crucial moment. So if you're a team that can win dominantly before that, I mean, Max is just having the game of his life right now. Every kill's been significant. He's been racking up here, racking up there. QUA, YouTube getting a wonderful little bit of a mini montage. Put that on your YouTube channel, mate. But Night Spotter right now, signs of life, but it might not be enough. We're almost at the halfway point already. That's how quick TDM is.
Yeah, it is rapid, especially these two sides. A lot of aggression from Overtake. The hot-headed youth in the servers, they are giving it. The damage comes through. They double up over the one frag that was found by Gianni. Ilos with the connection on Max. But there is a response. QA, he's repping the Scarecrow. Unfortunately, he is now lifeless.
Isn't everyone? Dobar gets one, winning that 1v1. Clutch stuff to do there. Shrapnel does not want to take that fight, I don't think. Signs of turning around. Gianni's going to chase this one down. Cannot run into the Lion's Nest, though, because unfortunately he just ran into a couple of grenades and took massive damage, and they just chase it down. That was definitely he's overextended, he's weak, let's finish him off.
The Lion's Nest. Is that like a really big lion with wings?
Did I say Lion's Nest or Den?
Lion's Nest.
I wanted to say Den, but I'll say Nest as well. I'll dedicate, I'll commit.
The bee cave.
Yes.
Which is where the bee lions live.
Cool. Hot Pepper gets another one.
Well, takes down T-Mac and Ilos, Dobar and Gianni. Everyone's gone. That's pretty much the team wipe coming through. And the response is a sniper round straight into Hot Pepper from Ilos. It's not looking fantastic, though, for Jug. They're falling behind about 80 points ahead for Overtake as they build themselves a good lead. And this is the first least really tradey game of TDM we've seen in a while. Normally it's a lot more fast-paced in terms of the trades back and forth. Jug could be coming into it here, though.
Yeah, I'm looking at that kill feed, and I just saw 3 frags go completely unreturned. And, you know, Hot Pepper just got 1, but Ilos takes down another. And we went from it being a pretty decisive lead to very hard to predict in general. And I think it came down to the fact that even though Overtake got that team wipe, they had all collectively lost their armor. And with the amount of damage that these weapons do in pro mode, you know, that the sniper rifles, the long-range machine guns, the porcupine at point blank, they all basically one-shot you. So if you have no armor, you can't be out of position. Shrapnel, definitely in a bad situation. Gets 1 kill, but is this going to be swiftly returned? Or are they putting so much focus into Shrapnel that maybe they're taking damage? He gets a double kill right there? That was super impressive.
Shrapnel ripping him to pieces.
How did he survive that? He's still alive.
No, he's giving it. T-Mac will be able to find 1 frag, and Shrapnel just sprinting his way around, going to support and link up with the rest of the squad. That's the killing spree. Just needed that additional frag to come through. Knew it was worthwhile. And they're so close. They have a huge lead. They would really have to actively attempt to throw this game if they want to lose it.
A couple of members of Overtake are really weak, though.
Yeah.
So if they do lose a couple of members, they can't concede a single kill. But I think if they could just pick off Max and then make it a 4 versus 2. Yes, now Shrapnel has just spawned. So they may have lost that window. Wait a minute, they ran in. Dobar overextending and gets swiftly executed. And how about that? Overtake have now been able to tie things up. It's going to be 1-1. And I think that fundamentally just came down to the fact that all the kills that we saw were really significant ones. It was triple kills. It was killing sprees. It was headshots. Like, everything that just gives you that extra little bit of spice.
Yeah, well, as you said, there was Shrapnel, right? He got that killing spree towards the end, stayed alive for so long, knew he could just flank in. Max called him to rotate, knew he had a free kill there, gets that kill, instantly in with a killing spree. It's just such a big point lead you gain from it. Overtake understand how to actively use that point method very well. That's sort of what sets you apart in Guns of Boom, right? It's not about who's the top fragger, it's about who's being set up for those big point kills.
Exactly. And Shrapnel, dare I say, if he would have died there when he kind of got funneled into what looked like a terrible situation, I think that could, right here, this could have been the beginning of the end. Because look at the point difference. If they took him out, they actually would have evened things out a little bit. And then the 4 versus 3 would have allowed them, I think, to run in. But because Shrapnel just pulled off the clutch plays and held his ground and landed the crucial shots he needed to, he's able to get the double kill, stay alive, and then get an extra kill at the end to get a killing spree as well. So those little bursts of points at the end, dare I say, was the sole reason those guys were able to come back, and Overtake were able to take that win. It's now 1-1. Hard to predict, but on Military Warehouse, which I'm pretty sure is our deciding map, I wonder if I actually favor Overtake. They look stronger in TDM.
Well, that's what I was sort of alluding to, right, with the start. If this goes just for the all 3 maps, we get a point like this where they dominate in a TDM setting, you know they're going to do well. And Jug have seemed like a team that struggles in a lot of that TDM environment, I don't know, it's sort of weird. Almost as if they do get overpowered in a lot of one-on-one fights, and then tilt kicks in quite easily. They seem like the team that had the weakest mental fortitude from what we saw at the EU Invitational, from how they seemed very broken after their first map loss to get back into it.
Yeah, that was the thing I think we were all a little bit worried about, wasn't it? Because, you know, body language is one of those things, you know, for those of you kind of new to competitive gaming, body language on players is something that you don't really think about, right? You don't really think, well, in an event, how is a player going to feel? Because you're so used to seeing online persona or online language on a Twitter or a social media or in-game chat, anything like that, that when you finally see a player at an event, you kind of just think everyone's almost like a machine. They're robotic. They sit there and they just have their phone out and they just kind of play like this and that's it. But no, these are real people that feel real emotion. So when things go bad, how a team can recover from that is something that is, you can only really see it until you see it at an event.
Yeah, and that was the first chance we got with Guns of Boom, right? Because it's a different game in terms of being very quick. Does that affect you as mentally? If you put like an hour into a full matchup, by the time you take your loss or you win, that's going to be a pretty emotional hit. Where it is fast-paced, but still quite impactful, it means that still hits you in the same way. Even though the games are a lot shorter, they have a lot of weight on their shoulders, because it's a best of 3 in these early rounds, you know, best of 5s that we get for the later stages. You don't have too much legroom to work with because of how quick-paced the games are. So having a strong mental fortitude, being able to reset on a game loss or keep that momentum on a high and actually win maps consistently is a big thing that these teams will have to learn sort of as the game goes on.
Now, we actually have got the stats of that previous match. I'm really excited to see what happened here, because Overtake, I feel like some of their members, you know, Max and QUA, Shrapnel at the last minute, that's where like his burst of points came from. Max starting things off with a really impressive sequence of kills. QUA just pretty much, you know, if I've mispronounced your name, by the way, sorry if it's Cure, I apologize. But consistency. He was pretty much always involved in some kind of fight. He was either finishing someone off as they tried to run away, or he was adding a long-range assault rifle kill, favored a lot of the assault rifle, if I remember correctly. And on Skyscrapers, you know, there are only certain parts of the map where the Barracuda or the sniper rifle in general, I say Barracuda because it's by far the most popular, there are not as many angles as you would otherwise like. So having to go in for other weapons, it pretty much, I think, tests your versatility as a player. We have the next map up and ready to go as our players load in to what is going to be a decider in the semi-finals. And we said things would be close, and I'm happy that we've been correct, at least this one time.
Yeah, this has actually been a lot tighter of an affair. Normally it's the quick 2-0s. This time it actually does go 2-1 because one of these sides is now going to have to pick it up here. Military Warehouse, a lot more of an aggressive map, that faster paced style of gameplay that's going to be coming through. All about the rifles, tight angles, a lot of blocked off lines of sight, so it's a bit more awkward, but already a big opener. Team Mac with the double kill from the grenade, the support from Dobar as well as he comes through. There is the flank from Max, he's in the rear with the gear, and he goes large, getting the first kill, but the flick turned on by Dobar.
A little bit of self-damage, but it's not going to be enough to punish, especially seeing as they have a nice amount of armor. Shrapnel taking a very, very crucial Barracuda shot. Unfortunately, QUA trying to push the advantage, has to watch out, does not have the stack to take that fight whatsoever. But I feel like Knights of Honor, they have somewhat of a steady lead, but it's being undone. Max pushing a little bit too far into the Cuckoo's Nest as he gets one shot, evening things out 1-1. Knights of Honor maintaining a strong lead. QUA, does he win this 1v1? I'm wondering. He's pretty weak. We saw him. Nah, he can't. Dobar finishes him off. Knights of Honor having a significantly better game, Jackie.
Yeah, looking good, Jug. A nice early start. Good little triple man crossfire here as well. The flank from Hot Pepper doesn't catch them off guard. Luckily, the adjustment from Dobar was rapid. Bit off a bit more than they could chew, but there is support from Janny. They add it up. That's a killing spree. And that's a big cluster of points added. So they do get themselves ahead by about 100 points. But it's always so close anyway. It doesn't matter. These first few minutes of TDM normally always end in a tie. It's that last minute that is the real tasty part.
But the funny thing is, on that note, we're so used to seeing that, but I don't think we've seen it as much today. Knights of Honor had is the magic word after that kill, almost double the points. And now with a combo breaker being awarded, we see extra and the suicide from Ilos. That's punishing, minus 15 points. Yeah. It's going to allow the comeback to make. Hot Pepper gets that butchered kill as well. Extra points for the melee kill. And just like that, they have a fighting chance. They just need to really make sure they can see nothing. You can't give up those silly kills, those silly frags here and there.
Nice nade. That actually should kill Shrapnel, but T-Mac will still take him down anyway. The aggression, the backstab on Max. They are crunching pretty effectively. Ilos biting off just all these aggressive picks. He just loves it. Charging in for no reason, just giving it with no armor. They are still finding the kills, but it's messy.
Yeah.
Jug, a lot more aggressive, Ryan.
We're seeing some of these kills near the base too. It's always in the midst of grenade fights. You know, grenade doing damage is one of the many things grenades does, but it's actually obstruction of vision. That's one of the extra reasons we see grenades used in those doorways, because you can't see the smoke. It creates such an obstacle. We see a killing spree from T-Mac, and even though he might go down eventually, no, he doesn't. He still gets that one, I think. But then he dies eventually. But that, again, that one moment he popped off, look at the point difference. If I was a betting man right now, I'd say Knights of Honor easy.
Yeah, it seems like it. It's a huge lead ahead. They should only be able to build from it, especially the fact they're all focusing. They tunnel vision here on the group in front. So they didn't realize that Dobor was there on the left-hand side. So he gets the double kill. Tried to carry on with that and just shut down the entire team. Max will barely survive as the nades roll in, but he is pretty much out of the game. He's got no nades, no health. The recharge time on the recovery for your HP is so slow in Guns of Boom as well, so they're out of the fight for a good few seconds here. And Knights of Honor are 10 points away from the win now. They pick it up, the sniper double kill from Ilos, and they annihilate them. Jug will win the series in the 2-1 fashion. No reverse sweep today from Overtake.
I want to say props to Overtake for getting as far as they did. Top 4 is no easy feat, especially with the type of competition we actually have in Guns of Boom right now, and it's always nice to see new teams enter the fray, or newer teams to the top 4. Definitely not to discredit their ability in the game and their dedication to it, but we'll hopefully be seeing them again in future cups. But right now, Knights of Honor are able to maintain a little bit more consistency from their previous results, and we'll be seeing them in the grand finals. And I feel like it's been a long time since we've seen them in a grand finals at all, Jackie.
Yeah, that is true. It's more of a return to the form we expect to see. Jug, Knights of Honor. If you are unfamiliar with them, they were pretty much touted as the community favorite, weren't they?
For a while,
the fan favorite of Guns of Boom, pretty much across the board for the European side. So to see them go for what was this sort of golden icon of Guns of Boom to really struggling, not being able to make it to those finals, and an unfortunate performance at the first major LAN as well, it left people a little bit hungry for more, potentially. And they've had some time off, obviously, over that little bit of a player break we had, so they've put a lot more time in again, and there is improvement. Signs of life is what we need to see, and being our first grand finalist is definitely a good spot to take.
They needed to wake up, and wake up they certainly did. So the grand finals being Black Bulls versus the Knights of Honor, a matchup that I feel like, for some reason, it just feels like it's been a while since we've seen it.
It's a throwback,
but I'm excited to kind of see what happens here, but before that, we do have a third place playoff. This being a single elimination bracket tournament means that top 3 teams being paid, we have to find out what that team getting third place is going to be so they can get away with a little bit of extra cash to finish the day off. So I feel like that's in itself an exciting one as well, because Overtake looked good against Knights of Honor. How will they look versus Forza Esports? Who knows? We're going to be finding out very, very shortly as we load up our third place playoff. And while we do that, we're going to go for another very quick break. So don't go anywhere, because Jackie and myself will be right back. In a single elimination tournament, only the top 3 teams are going to walk home with some cash. And seeing as we have our grand finalists decided, it's going to be between Forza Esports and Overtake to find out which team is going to get the 3rd place and ultimately end this tournament with a little bit of extra money. My name is Ketchup and I'm joined by Jackie, and welcome to the ESL Guns of Boom GO4 finals for this 2 weeks. And as you can see in this bracket, it's Black Bulls and Knights of Honor in the grand final. That's going to be minimum 1st and 2nd. But as I just mentioned, we have to find out which team is going to take home some of that cash money, just between Forza Esports and Overtake. I think my money's going to be on Forza purely through consistency alone. I don't know if you feel the same, Jackie.
I'm excited for this one as we switch things up a little bit. Obviously, going to be hitting that handbrake and going into that deciding game between Forza and Overtake. Sounds a lot like a racing game.
It actually totally does.
Because you've got Forza in itself and also just Overtake.
That'd be like the second name. It would be Forza X number.
Yeah, like
Overtake.
Burnout Paradise.
Exactly.
Forza Overtake.
That's exactly
to be fair, that literally might be a game.
I don't know whether we've just spilled the beans too early on that one.
We've leaked it.
Unfortunate. But either way, in Guns of Boom world, which is where we are today, I feel like Forza, they have had such a climb, haven't they? You know, they've been a team that were a little bit underwhelming at first, and then as time progressed, we started to see them a little bit more and more. Had a disappointing showing at the European Invitational, but then almost at the flick of a light switch, we saw them play online in our latest GO4 Cup, where they were both in the grand finals and also looking so strong that I felt they were the team to win that week. Unfortunately, they didn't quite take the crown, and they lost to Black Bulls, and they had to draw almost like the short straw and face Black Bulls again in the semis today, where they unfortunately were not able to take the win either. But there's plenty of games left to go. You know, they're in a good running of the points. They're looking good to qualify for the Season 1 finals in LA for that $120,000 anyway. But I gotta say, if they maintain what they're doing, I think they're in a good running. This week, they just so happen to have the best team.
Honestly, though, it's not the worst thing in the world, because with Black Bulls, where they've already got a spot at LA, they're the team you kind of want to be winning, because then even though they're getting a ton of points, if they're making the maximum amount of points every time, it's only one team that's getting that maximum amount of points from the win, right? So when those points eventually get negated, they'll just be moved up a result because they've already got a spot. It doesn't really affect the standing.
You just have to do what you can to make sure that you're never seeded against Black Bulls that week, so that they can beat the other competition, and then you can get grand finals. And even if you lose to them in grand finals, you're still technically going to get the most points anyone else could get.
Even when you lose, you win.
Exactly. From a point standing, that's actually not a bad call. So I believe we have the match selection ready to go. Find out what the maps are going to be. So it's going to be best of 5. So first to win 3 maps, as is always the way in our 3rd place playoff, and what will eventually be our grand finals later. The maps we have selected: Farming Complex, Europe Square, Paradise Island, Skyscrapers, and if we go down to that final 5th map, obviously Wild West Saloon. Removed maps being Europe Street, Military Warehouse, Atrium, and Subway Station. So personally, I'm excited to see some Farming Complex because we haven't seen that in a while. It's a very, very momentum-heavy map, that one. But then, you know, from one momentum-heavy map to another, Paradise Island is another one just like it. Europe Square, we kind of just maintain this theme, don't we? It's big, out, long in the open maps. And then finally, if we go to Wild West, we're finally going to shrink things. Every other map is huge in this rotation.
Nice. We're learning about shapes here with Ryan.
I don't know why I'm so animated with my hands.
With big and small, huge.
Big map, and then a small map, and then a medium-sized map. And we have the tall maps like Skyscrapers. Then we have the small maps like Wild West Saloon, with a little bit of a staircase that some people
like. A little bit of
use.
verticality.
Yeah.
The one piano that everyone sits on.
Yes, and then the truck, which is a little bit lower, which is also one of those.
It also just looks like you now have a sock puppet.
I do.
Just sat there.
I'm going to do that. I'll bring that. Surprise everyone
Guns
with
of Boom.
The next one. I'm going to give it a Guns of Boom. I'm going to go. Oh my god, that was.
He just comes out and joins us.
What, like a little Stannis sock puppet?
Yeah, little Stannis.
I mean, to be fair,
Stan-pup.
To be fair, I miss Stannis.
Yeah.
It was great working with him at the European Invitational, because you guys see Stannis all the time, but that was the first time we'd ever met him, and it was great to go. Oh my god, we're actually on a desk with this guy. It's sick. It's great.
Yeah, man.
He's with us in spirit every time we do a show.
That's what we got to work on behind the scenes. We'll build the Stannis sock puppet.
So he can be part of every single show, and he'll never miss a GO4 ever again.
It'll be classic.
Well, I do believe we have our first match almost locked and loaded. So, to be honest, Forza Esports are going to be the favourite team as we go into this 3rd place playoff, because I feel like they've just had better results. And I also feel like they're just a bit more consistent as a group of players. But that said, Overtake, sometimes the new blood is the kind of team that can pull off an upset. And if they can defeat Forza, they can at least end today, not only with some cash, but knowing they have what it takes to take out one of the best teams in the EU currently.
It'll be a big confidence boost for them. But we are into the action, and it's already neck and neck between either side as the aggression is coming out. The points on this map are very close together. Provides for a lot of explosive gameplay the entire time. VRAG running straight in, finds the adjustment there with a biff uppercut onto Max. Looks to do a little bit more damage as well. Hot Pepper is kept at bay, but he's confident. His entire squad is there as well. To Overtake in a good position to start to pick up those points now.
Now, one thing about farming Complex is that it is very, very snowball heavy. And, you know, much like, unlike the other game modes where it's all about trying to be the best fragger of the game, and, you know, the kills are the most important. In Control Point, it is the complete opposite. If you hold more points, you win. It is as simple as that. The first team to hold more points pretty much has the absolute advantage. But, as you can see here, it is kind of going back and forth. Overtake looking really strong, but that's being swiftly undone because they've just lost the point. Pretty much going back into exactly what I was talking about.
B site is where the constant fight is as well. And you can see that early overcommitment when there's just the one player caught off guard. Nice little angle there from QUA as well. But the aggression, they're just sprinting in. Larson loves a fight. He's able to overpower him. Stanison actually kills himself with a grenade as well. It's the second time we've seen that today. It's very common.
It's because so many players go for those close-range nades to either get some damage before they die or try and get some group damage or some surprise damage. And it's almost like they just take the risk and they understand that even if I accidentally frag myself, it kind of is what it is, as long as you try and take someone with you. Or if you're going to go down, weaken them. Look at how close this is. This is impossible to call at this point.
It's the Doom mentality in play. Just constant aggression and annihilation the entire time. Blood for the blood god, Brian.
That's rip and tear until it is done. Right there. Grenade kill from Hot Pepper. Manages to get an extra one, and again, it feels like it's impossible to call. No team is able to pull away. It's because they're trickling in. One kill here, one kill there, and they spawn at a set time. So they simply just take it in turns like a conveyor belt. Look at how even things have been able to remain. I don't know who's going to take this one. There's going to be this one moment where a team needs to break away. They need to get one good fight. They need to get one good double kill. Unfortunately, Vrag is unable to do that because he runs into two people. And I feel like that might have actually given Overtake the catalyst they needed to start to make a comeback.
They're fun kills, but it's just not working for them.
Exactly. And it kind of what I said, I think they're going to have the breakaway. I feel like Overtake have just started to do that. They had one good group fight that went in their favor, and off the respawn time, they've used it to seize 2 locations. And I feel like this might be the point of no return at this thing. Like, look at this. 160 down. Forza in big trouble.
Yeah, Forza are struggling here, and Overtake could actually lock it down. There's no reason why they should lose it at this point. For the slow trickle, the constant firefight we've seen carries on going in their favor. That'll be the win for him. Larson allowed free control on the point. He is going to try and backcap it, but with only 30 points between these two sides, it's always going to be the win for Overtake. They do pick it up, and they start off the best of 5 well. They still need to win 2 more maps, but that is a good way to begin it for the underdog.
Now, Overtake, I think Control Point was a map they looked a little bit less comfortable in when we saw them play in the semis. So the fact they were able to basically play immediately on another one of the exact same mode and look strong against the likes of Forza, they've started things off very, very impressively. I think they needed to get this first map. They needed to be able to show and both send a message to Forza that says, hey, we may not be consistently in the semifinals, but we're still here to play and we're still not to be underestimated. They were even so much in that first map. There was that one moment at the end where they just had one good fight, and that one good fight sealed the deal for the rest of the whole map.
The worrying fact is, though, Forza and Overtake, both, I would say, are teams that excel in TDM environments. Very aggressive individual-based players, and we can see a lot of that coming through even in there, but it's not the big picture, right? It's about being able to hold, and that's what we saw. Better trades towards the end coming through from Overtake, a little bit of a small resurgence. Getting into those TDM matchups, though, it's going to be an absolute bloodbath, and this is where Forza, in reality, should be able to peel back ahead, but Overtake looked pretty mean out there.
They did for sure. I feel like, to be honest, a 3-0 result is one thing I'm not expecting. So if we do see that from Overtake, that's going to be like a hats off to you kind of moment. But I feel like we're a lot of moments away from even seeing that. Because we're only down into map 1 right now. We have plenty left to go. But Team Deathmatch, maybe that's one of the things. You know, we saw Team Deathmatch last Cup so consistently. And Forza looked just next level comfortable on that. So if we go into TDM and we see Forza take it dominantly, I think that might be like, you know, this is their forte. TDM is basically their home at that stage. So who knows? Hard to call, I think. But again, we're moments away from going into our next map. Overtake, kind of showing that they are not to be underestimated. They're one of those newer teams, and I think in a competitive setting where it so consistently is, the 4 teams.
Yeah.
It's back-to-back, it's Knights of Honor, it's Black Bulls, and it's Forza Esports. It's pretty much been them for so long. It's nice and refreshing to see a new team kind of really bring it to them. I think, these cups, anyone at home can enter. If you guys at home play with a group of buds and you think, I can beat these teams, there actually is nothing stopping you from going up online, signing up, and taking part. If you think you're a better team than the teams that we have on stream, you could be on stream in 2 weeks' time. You've just got to be good enough.
And that's the thing, the spots for Los Angeles are still up for grabs. Nothing is set in stone yet. Obviously, teams have an advantage the longer they've been playing in the league and the more GO4 Cups they've taken part in, but everyone has free access to that, and it is worth trying because Overtake have kind of proven that point. They're getting themselves into the upper echelons, they're looking good to possibly grab a spot for Europe, but we are in to see if they can carry it on. They've got 1 map under their belt. Can they double it up and get a second? The early frags have gone in their favor, but the point is controlled by Forza.
Exactly, and as we go in now, Overtake, trying to establish a little bit of presence. They've been able to seize point A. Now in King of the Hill, if you can hold the point and rack up loads of frags, this has the scope to be immensely fast. They are just overwhelming Forza. Look at Overtake. You have to watch out because you can't overextend because you're going to walk right into the spawn. But Max, very intelligently catching them behind, getting a killing spree immediately. They still have the point. They take a trade, and the trade means that Overtake can maintain their presence. And look at this. I don't see teams normally sneak up on the backside. But like Overtake are the first team to do it in ages.
Yeah, holding the flank angle there. Actually looking pretty good in terms of being able to spread themselves out, play for the defensive positions, but still defend this site. Hot Pepper with a huge double kill. Nice use of the grenade to smash him in the knees and blow him to bits, and then find the follow-up with the rifle. Everyone else is going down, but finally a little bit of resurgence. They do get on the site, but they can't really hold it. It's up to Igor and the boys to defend it now.
They relied heavily on a couple of 1v1s. Unfortunately, neither of them actually went in Overtake's favor. Stason taking big damage, unable to return. Gets a little bit of a clip, which sets Hot Pepper on fire, no pun intended. Takes out Larson as well. This was a good sequence for Hot Pepper, actually. He's moments away from getting a triple kill situation. He might be on the verge of a killing spree as well. This later on, it's going to be beneficial. Max drops to Stason. But again, the damage he's taking over time is going to give him a little bit of knowledge on spawn. Looking at the damage numbers, where is this guy?
Ooh. Stuck in the middle. Shrapnel goes down, eliminated by VRAG. They're just sprinting their way back in. Hot Pepper blowing them out the server though, absolutely dunking on them. They are keeping them busy as the angle is locked down. Forza, they might be able to watch it from an outside position and rack up points off the kills, but they're struggling to get the control, especially when Shrapnel is just given free reign, single-handedly denies any push that's coming towards the site, and is still carrying on this spree.
Goes to show why an amazing sniper is a valuable asset to any team. If you have the ability to get those critical shots every single time, especially because of the Barracuda giving you that regeneration bullet, if you land those successful shots, it's important to make sure that you have someone on your team that can just dish out damage. If they've got an angle, you need to trust that they can get the job done. Now, actually, Hot Pepper, I believe, swapping weapons right there, taking some time out, using the terrain to try and block himself off a little bit, and Larson just being way too predictable, running in full speed and just giving them exactly what they wanted. They're taking so much damage, and Overtake, look at how strong this team is playing so far.
They're looking really sick right now. Shrapnel actually has a really good mechanical understanding of how to use his weapons at the right times as well. Knows when to switch out from just holding the sniper on the angle to go for the rifle, get up close and personal. Really good decision making. I think that's one of the best we've seen, more so along the lines of Killing Machine.
Exactly, and that's one of the things that separates the two teams. And Overtake, they take a second map. That was fast as well. That was not close at any point.
There's a bit of a different strategy coming out from Overtake. Still the same sort of style, obviously being able to push up, hold the aggressive angles, but spread thin, but with a good overall view of the site and the constant trickle of the other side. Forza just couldn't find any way in. They were just constantly at choke points, being overwhelmed. All the trades would go in favor of Overtake, and a lot of that was from the mobile sniper we had a Shrapnel. It wasn't just one angle the entire time. He was damaging everyone as they pushed out, basically stripping them of armor in the first couple of seconds, Ryan, and then punished up close as well, being able to really go big with that porcupine. So good decision making from Shrapnel.
It's that next level of optimized Guns of Boom player, is to understand that if you're at a range, the max damage you can do at any given moment needs to be the correct weapon. Quick switching is one of those strategies that's never really talked about, but it's making sure that you have like two weapons that you like and swapping when need be, but you can almost like double tap the screen to get your next weapon out. So essentially you're setting up the combo on spawn during your respawn protection, and you have the weapon that you're going to be at range with, and then if you have to swap to Porcupine or the assault rifle, depending on how you want to approach, instead of actually manually going on the menu and selecting it, just double tap the screen because you've already set up the weapon order, so you kind of save that valuable second it would take to choose it manually. Little things like that they're not really discussed tactics, but at this level of play, everyone is going to be using it. The question is, which player utilizes it the best? And Shrapnel, when he was just popping off on Paradise Island, we saw him do the same thing in the semis during Skyscrapers. Ultimately, yes, they didn't win the series, but moments like that from some star players on the side of Overtake, it was what entirely allowed them to work. Now, I feel like this map really, really intrigues me because we're talking about players like Shrapnel picking the right moment, picking multiple sniper angles. This is a map that lets you do that and then some. It is a sniper's map.
This map is so open. It's so aggressive. It's one of these maps where there is just constant warfare between other sides, especially when we see it in TDM. It's outrageous, right? The amount of frags that go down on here are mental, but we are into the action.
Also, we got the wrong Europe. Sorry, guys. It's in fact Europe squared, not Europe streets. I was about to say,
I was like, wow.
Oh, Europe, man. It all looks the same to me. You say potato, I say tomato. But here we go. Overtake with a wonderful lead again. Stayson does manage to get the drop on Max, and no damage in return. So that's just going to be 3 points. Now Stayson can take the fight. Shrapnel too weak to fight as well. Not an amazing start. Yes, they have some early points, but I feel like Stayson caused a little bit of a ruckus. Not enough though. Overtake a solid lead. Larson trying to take this back now, but I feel like he just went into a rock and a hard place. Immediately dealt with. Overtake. Look at this. I'm going to say, Jackie, are they going to 3-0 this?
It seems likely right now. Just not really even struggling at all. They're confident. They're smart as well. In terms of the rotates, they're all being able to spread out, get control of A point. There will be 2 points in play for Forza, though, so they should actually be able to rapidly build up a good lead. But the aggression's there. They can recap B as well. Forza didn't even get it, so it's been 1 point to 2 the entire time now. Overtake have a much better spread of the map.
And I feel like it's also recovery. When you inevitably go down, they're not really getting consistently team wiped. They're not dying at the same time, which puts them massively behind. If you get an entire team and you've got a loadout that favors speed, you can pretty much wipe a team and then take a couple of points each and then force those fights. I feel like Forza have never been in a position where they can go for a mass team recovery because Overtake just aren't dying enough. It's as simple as that.
And it's the same thing every time, right? Look, we see them take B, but C has now been taken. They're going to then rotate off track, go for C. That's when they'll back cap on A. They're just playing for the back caps, and it's working every time. Hot Pepper back on the bomb site, though, just giving it with a Porcupine as he rails everyone down. Handles him very well. That's going to be the recap. There is the backstep coming around. He doesn't have any armor. So 1 versus 2, so it will be a struggle. But he still somehow finds the frags.
And I feel like it's also the fact that he was able to just be a thorn in their side, use the terrain to hide for as long as possible, and he pretty much died the frame they took B. But the fact they took B is more than enough because you get that point reward for even taking it. And again, yes, he got killed by the grenade, and that was a wonderful pickup, actually. Eagle getting both a double kill and the ability to try and undo some of this damage. But look at the pincer maneuver. They just completely surrounded him, and Overtake, they're consistently looking strong. Look at how much blue versus red is on the map. Overtake have absolute control at the moment.
Yep, they are commanding right now. Definitely towering above the opposition, but queue up, able to find 1 kill. Just go down as the push comes back towards the site. Max up close and personal, dealing with them, staying on the move as well as the assault is coming through, being hit with the assault and battery. That's the triple kill as everyone's going to hit the deck around him, and it seems like it should be good night.
This has to be game over, Jackie. I feel like Overtake, they've looked so strong across all 3 maps, and again, we've reached the unwinnable situation. Overtake, they just have too much control. That's going to naturally tick down, and Overtake 3-0 against Forza Esports. What a result that no one was expecting. These guys turn up today, they collect heads. They didn't win the tournament, but they walk home with 3rd place, taking out one of the most favored, the highest favored team in the current lineups to make the Season 1 finals. And they just made them look amateur. Yeah,
they have overtook. They have just locked it down. Looked very, very good from them. Smooth stuff across the board, winning all their firefights, knowing how to rotate. The communication seems good. The individual players seem good. This is the team that we might be seeing in LA if they carry on playing like this. Because for our first showing, this can only get better.
Definitely a first showing in the GO4. If memory serves me correctly, honest to God, it has been the, it was the Triada first, which became Forza. It was back-to-back. It was Yakuza, which became Black Bulls, and then Knights of Honor. It's been these teams basically every single time. But then here comes a new team that, you know, maybe a little bit hot off the block that not many people are used to seeing, and they just turn up and get 3rd place and make the current #1 runnings looking a little bit simple, you know, not to even disrespect Forza. They're clearly a team of talented players, but a 3-0 is a 3-0, and most of those maps were not close either. Like, that was a very, very strong showing.
It was clean cut, I think, from after the first map onwards. It sort of seemed like, all right, this is just going to be them locking it down now. And we didn't expect that. We didn't think it would be a 3-0, but the first 3-0, one side of the fair of the day, and it's in the best of 5s, and it is a huge pickup for Overtake.
And a dominant win on a longer series is much harder. You know, it's easier to win 2 maps dominantly than 3 maps dominantly, especially when you kind of mix up the game modes. So either way, I'm impressed. I'm sure you're impressed as well, Jackie. And hopefully you guys at home are impressed as well. We have one more series left to go for Europe before we jump over into North America. And it's going to be our grand finals. The storyline of, can Knights of Honor regain their #1 spot and take out the current champs and the Black Bulls? Only time will tell. See you in a few minutes. Welcome back, everybody, to the ESL Guns of Boom GO4 finals for this 2 weeks, and we have our grand finals for Europe left to go. It's going to be Black Bulls versus Jug Knights of Honor. I feel like I'm quite an interesting story to find out if Knights of Honor are able to kind of reclaim their status as one of the absolute top teams in EU across the likes of, you know, Forza and Black Bulls, and obviously back-to-back as well. And also seeing if Black Bulls can kind of just keep that clean slate, where since the European Invitational, tournament-wise, they've seemed basically untouchable on broadcasts. So, I don't know about you, but I'm expecting a very interesting match.
I think this is going to be a good one. We've got a lot of talent here on either of the two rosters. Obviously, for Jug, we haven't seen them too much recently. the top spots, the upper echelons, they've been struggling a little bit, but this is their normal proving ground, right? This is where they've been stomping around and being the dominant force for a long side. So hopefully we see a bit of interesting gameplay coming out of them. Individually, they look talented. They look a whole lot better than they have done in recent times. So maybe this is the resurgence, but it is by far the hardest team from the European region right now. Lord Mano back on the scene. Everyone looking like they're popping off. Black Bulls have been pretty dominant from the Invitational onwards and are showing no signs of slowing down. So it's a scary affair to go up against.
Trying to maintain on top form as well. It's something where, you know, when you are on the top, there's only one way you can go, and that's down. So if you can maintain that top level of competition, it's actually very hard to stay there. We have our map rotation to find out which maps we're going to be fighting on. As you can see, best of 5 again, that first of 3 format. As we are in grand finals, it makes sense. We're going to be going on Military Warehouse, Atrium, Subway Station, Paradise Island, and then if it comes to that, Skyscrapers is our map. I believe in order it's Military Warehouse, then Paradise Island, then Atrium, then Subway, then Skyscrapers. And the removed maps were Wild West, Europe Street, Europe Square, and Farming Complex. So there's no Europe today. Sorry, guys. We're going to see that another time, maybe in North America. But I think starting things off with the Military Warehouse and then going into Paradise Island. And then Atrium, the one thing that I think is almost like a spanner in the works here is the Atrium, because we don't really get to see this map picked too often. Military Warehouse, Skyscrapers, Subway, Paradise. It's basically like, this is a GO4 map rotation. But this time, manually selected by the players. So they're actually showing us that they want to play on these maps.
I think this is going to be one of the sort of the matchups where Military Warehouse, if Jug don't win it, they actually might struggle, because this map pool does favor Black Bulls a lot in terms of the more, you know, strategical game modes. Atrium's a big one. That's where they can find their foot in. It's a very easy position for them to actually reset themselves mentally if they struggle and fall on the first map, or they can pick up a pretty big lead here. That's the scary fact. Just Black Bulls have looked so dominant on these maps in the past that Jug really are going to need to play some A-star performances tonight. That's
the difficult thing, isn't it? When you actually look at the lineup, it kind of looks like Black Bulls are going in with their tried and tested, almost like star-studded lineup. So in terms of player talent, we kind of know they're going in with the big guns today. You know, they have been kind of messing around with different players in different weeks. In the last GO4 that they actually won, I believe they were not using their main regular lineup. So the fact they were able to win without it in itself, that's like impressive to begin with. But they have got the luxury of being already confirmed for the Season 1 finals because they won the European Invitational. They're the only team in this entire league so far to win a LAN. And if they're going to try and win their second, they need to have their strategies on deck. And now they have the luxury of already being qualified. They can start to experiment. Knights of Honor, though, they need to place as highly as they can. And if they can win this tournament, they can have such a high level of morale going into the next stage of the weekly competition. And that was a bloodbath to start things off. 1 kill here and there, trading it constantly. And we're back to an even level. Excellence gets a grenade kill, but is immediately dropped. And here we go. The back and forth begins.
Yeah, the bread man himself, Dobar, does take him down. Janny is going to fall to Divine King. Ilos with a sniper rifle starts to punish, though. Gets the one as he is going to prove that Divine King isn't shatterproof. Dobar adds to it with a follow-up frag as well. That's a big killing spree to give him a jolt of points, but they are behind right now. By about 10 points, Black Bulls are in the lead, and it falls into a little bit of a lull, a little bit of a slower style of action coming through. Romeo is tremendously low, though, and they're picking off the right men. They're finding the correct faces to fight.
Very even again. Knights of Honor have only just been able to trickle the lead. Excellence pulls back. Excellence has very good map awareness, I find. Whenever we observe this guy, he's never overextended. He's never pushing too far ahead. If he knows he's weak, like right now, he's either going to try and pick an angle where someone might not be ready, but he's not going to re-peek that corner. He just took massive damage and unfortunately, he just died. But my point is, if he takes damage from a corner, he's not going to peek that corner again. He knows it's a death sentence. So often, even in the GO4s, we see some players actually make those mistakes, and players like Excellence don't make those mistakes. And that's why he's on the best team in EU currently.
Yeah, Excellence, the British barbarian. A very English man. Obviously, when we saw him in Poland after their win, he gave us a little head nod and just went, "Ooh." That was about what we got out of him. That's what you expect from an English game.
I would expect nothing more. How's it going, mate? With the evenness. Trying to be super careful. And now they're both trying to spawn trap, but not pushing so far. You may ask why they're not pushing even further forward. Both because Lord Mano just died, but also because if you push too far forward, you fall slave and victim to the respawn protection. You know, if you respawn, you have invincibility for a set time. If you sprint out the door, you can actually use that invincibility to your advantage. But if you sit just far behind, it's not possible for them to reach that part of the map that you're controlling without their invincibility wearing off. So you're actually not going to do, you know, unreturned damage.
Over-aggression is by far one of the worst things you can do in this game, which we see as a big common mistake for a lot of teams. It's more about holding those angles, being able to use that utility in terms of the grenades to shred armor off people, because your regen time takes so long. If you can set yourselves up in crossfires, you can easily dominate. But right now, the aggression is coming out from either side. A trade, a flurry of kills found with the grenades and the porcupines, as it does tie up at about 362 to 349. It is close, but Janny, can he start to put it back in favor of Knights of Honor now, right?
We see one more of a 1-for-1. Excellence gets 2, which is going to be excellent news for these guys. Only a few points behind, actually, so it still remains unpredictable. That first to 500 points for TDM makes things a little bit unpredictable as well, but we're moments away from finishing this first map. Black Bulls, they have a lead, but it's a tiny one.
Sat at 420 right now.
I mean, look at how slow these guys are approaching it. Oh no, Romeo, what's going on? Oh God. That could have been disastrous, but they are able to recover. Ilos not ready. I actually wonder how that kill was not called out. Romeo was right behind him, like a good 5 seconds before, and he still didn't turn around.
And this is pretty much their game to just lose now at this point. No way it should go in the favor of Jug. Black Bulls will pick it up as they lock it down, reaching that 500 points mark. So TDM falling in favor of Black Bulls is huge. They're already the favored team when it comes to the more tactical maps, starting it off well on the absolute bloodbath arena that it was on Military Warehouse. Bodes well.
But this also kind of goes back to what we talked about even after the third place playoff ended. Now, we have to factor in a couple of things here, not to undermine the grand finals, because winning a tournament is winning a tournament regardless of either way you look at it. That said, again, because Black Bulls are already confirmed for the finals, it doesn't really matter how much points they get. Even if they are like the #1 team technically because they're winning tournaments, doesn't really mean much because they're already going to be at the finals. Now, if Black Bulls are winning every single time and you're just underneath them, then technically, you know, you're actually getting the highest amount of points that a team can get for that week. Not saying they will here, because obviously the GO4s is just for cash. But I feel like Knights of Honor, the fact they've been able to essentially place the highest a team can place when it comes to qualifying for the finals, even if they don't win this cup, they're going to be happy they've been able to reach that point, which every team is desperate to get.
Oh yeah, it's true. Taking a first or second place here right now where your opponents is Black Bulls is going to be great. You should take that for whatever it is. Even if you don't get first, you're still reaching a pretty high upper echelon in terms of the points you're going to gain. That standings is going to change, obviously, when it comes down to actually choosing the teams that go through. And it's also the additional benefit of them being a bigger team. They've got a bit of a following in the scene, and they're now starting to post bigger results again. Even if they do take a second here, that's going to be eyeing themselves up for potentially a direct invite, right? That's what it's about, being able to show off those feathers now and kick up a fuss about who you are before we get into those later weeks when maybe people are going to start to work out who should get that direct invite to the LAN.
The direct invite is one of those things that intrigues me across both territories because it's, you know, who's going to be the most loved team? Who's going to be the people's champ? Can you guys become, you know, the most famous team in the scene? Sometimes it's not about winning every single tournament out there. It's about making sure that you're both, of course, you got to be good enough to show that you're worthy of being there. You know, no one's going to want to be a team that gets invited and they just like get destroyed at the finals because that's a waste of a slot and everyone's going to know it. So if you're the kind of team that are both really, really fun to watch, you can get results at the same time. It's a wonderful blend, I think. But, you know, really, really, the teams need to gun for those points. You know, because if you're good enough to get points, you need to be top 2 in EU. You actually have less wiggle room in Europe, don't you? Because that 1 point is already gone.
Yeah.
Black Bulls own it. Whereas in North America, you've got 3 chances for the top 3. In EU, it actually is only top 2. So it does open up a lot of mix-up potential, I think, when it comes to our teams that are going to be qualifying. And Knights of Honor, unfortunately, they didn't win the first map. There's still plenty of time left to go. I believe we're loading up our second map as we speak, so we should be there momentarily. But that said, Black Bulls, if this is a 3-0 result, I wouldn't be surprised. They are the #1 for a reason. Yeah,
they look good as well. With all the boys back in the server, obviously Lord Mano and everyone, that is a pretty big pivotal position. They need that entire team. They look dominant, they look smart, very strategic, and most of all, they look composed by far out of all the teams. Now, back on more of an hectic map, though. The Pineapple Farm itself, it is Paradise Island. This is one that normally provides for a lot of exciting gameplay. Very aggressive, always quite back and forth.
It's quick as well. Paradise Island, you almost never see a timeout on this map, first things first. But also, if it's dominant and if it is aggressive, then this could be over in 3 minutes. Maybe sometimes not even that. We've seen some ridiculous maps go down, but Knights of Honor, look at that start.
That's huge, right? Already a 100-point lead. They're steaming
blinked
across.
and missed it.
Yeah. This is wild for the amount of points they've racked up so rapidly into this one. It's going to be a bit of a hard comeback for Black Bulls already because this map pulls so much into the favor of the defending team, but I say that and they're back on the ball. They slide in, the feet are up, and it's time for business.
Excellence just got 6 kills in a row before dying, which is going to naturally help the rest of the team at the same time. Killing sprees giving you such a nice little bonus of points. Johnny winning that fight, taking out Romeo, but not before Divine King cleans up. Ilos gets caught in a bad spot, unable to turn around and return either, so Divine King gets a double kill. Another extra bonus of points. But unfortunately, now they're starting to fight back. My worry is, was the start so disastrous, it might be too much for Black Bulls to recover.
Could be the case, but they are actually gaining on the point lead rapidly. Nearly made it there, but unfortunately they do lost it. Lost it? Words are hard, right?
Loses the
That's
thing.
the one. Yeah. Gianni will come back through, though. Divine King goes down. It's quite close. 400 points now in favor of Black Bulls as they do ascend ahead, and they're starting to lock it down. They've got a good understanding of the game at this point.
I think it's impressive that they had a start that was that disastrous, and they've been able to turn things around. This is such a snowbally map. Not even a game mode. This map in particular is kind of hard to make a comeback on from what we've seen in the GO4s. The fact that Black Bulls have been able to both take the lead, and now they're somewhat running away with it after they basically were 150 points down fresh off the bat. I'm really impressed.
Excellent. The UK man gets one before he's ready out. Romeo coming back through. This is a real bloodbath. Constant trades. There's no real follow-up frags apart from Ilos, who finds himself that double, the hat trick overall, the headshot for the final blow as well. So a big injection of points towards that side of Jug.
Excellence is looking to take this fight. He's doing massive damage. He's popped the healing, but unfortunately trades it out, which is actually going to be somewhat of a win for Knights of Honor because it's going to take them a little bit less time to reach that point again, purely because Excellence was out of his own base. Ilos taking big damage. I actually think he might be victim to a surprise attack. Romeo gets one. Porcupine's going to do it, but he's ready. And the killing spree, keeping them a little bit in the fight, but the win is starting to still trickle for the Black Bulls. They're looking so good. Gianni drops as well. Divine King, a clutch kill. He needed that desperately, and now he's weak. He's going to swap to the long range. I agree with that decision. If you're weak, understand that if you get hit once, you're going to go down, but at least try and take someone with you. Try and take some extra points. And this is just control. Control personified. How often have Knights of Honor? It's been like 3 minutes and they've not been able to step a foot into the center of this map.
So Ilos had very good map control, right? As he was sat there with the sniper, he was able to get constant damage out to the points where he stayed alive for so long. But the downside to that is he had no map control. He was finding kills, sure, but that's just the additional points. Not really that slow trickle that you need from defending the center focus area. But they now push back through. They're going to be able to gain that control. Let's charge straight in. They're committing for the fight. They want to win the early game first.
They committed to the fight at that one moment. They just had thrown grenades a little bit too far forward. They weren't watching out for that left-hand chalet. Now, I don't think it's going to be too punishing because, again, we're reaching that dangerous territory where they just need 50 points left to go. Knights of Honor, technically they can win, but Black Bulls, they have to both not die anymore, and at the same time, they have to try and take the point. But I feel like it might be too much of a task. Black Bulls looking really strong. They just need a couple of kills left to go. T-Max in a bad position. He actually is able to survive, so wait a minute. One more. This might be all she wrote. This is close. Ah, it's not enough. It's not enough.
20 points off there for the other side, but Black Bulls will do it. They had far too much of a lead from the early game. Good control of the point. Ilos was very effective with the sniper rifle. Countless kills, but unfortunately, that's not what matters at the end of the day. If you get in the picks, you need to have a huge point lead from it, or it's just not worth it. The site control is the major focal point, and that goes in favor of Black Bulls. They lock it down. Just too big of an early buffer.
I mean, how heartbreaking is that as well, if you're Knights of Honor, where they were pretty much behind the entirety. They got a really good start, which put them in the lead for about 30 seconds, and then very, very, very quickly it was kind of reversed, and Black Bulls showing us why they are the best team out there at the moment, and the fortitude to stay in the game and recover immediately. Like, they were super far behind, and in less than 30 seconds, they pretty much undid all that damage and then put themselves in the lead. And Knights of Honor, whilst they weren't winning for most of that map, right at the last second, they started to make a comeback. Now, I do think that comeback was mostly because Black Bulls were being a little bit too eager to close things. They seemed to almost like lose their formations. They were starting to sort of like, you know, steamroll headfirst into these situations, which were causing them to lose fights. And through losing those fights, they very nearly lost the map. So I feel like as we go into what could be our third and final map, you know, right now, Lord Mano and the rest of the Black Bulls are basically saying in comms, all right, guys, let's not do that. Now, we were really, really eager to just run in and strong arm our way into that second game. let's not do it in map 3 and stay super consistent.
Yeah. The risk you have with being so aggressive, though, right, is the fact that after that initial fight where all of you are on full HP, full armor, and have a nade each, one side is going to get naded, lose their armor, have no nade left, then go into the next fight if they win. But that's what we saw, where they would win the first combat, other team would respawn, they then charge in. At that point, you have no armor, you have no nade. The other team dashes a nade at your shins instantly, takes you down to like 10 HP, they can finish you off. You're never going to win that second fight. That aggression just isn't worth it. Whereas if they play a little bit further back to hold the crossfires, you can tap people down, you can shred their armor off, force them to use their nades in a position where it won't guaranteed get a kill. And it just makes it a lot easier. But a lot of over-aggression, sometimes it can work. It worked a little bit there, but Black Bulls maybe need to tone it down a little bit in the follow-up match.
I think so too, because you almost like wonder that in high-level Guns of Boom, the trades are super consistent. You know, that's one thing kind of go to expect, where the meta almost is, because every gun does so much damage and because you can't get armor back, you can get health back, but not the armor. And when you lose a grenade, that's it, basically.
Yeah.
The second you're in that situation, it's instead of accepting, okay, we're just going to trade group fight for group fight, and then, you know, at the end, we're going to try and make things more significant. You can go, well, how do we reduce that? How can we make sure we win a fight? And then what can we do to win the next one? And sitting back and preventing that and holding difficult angles is basically the way forward. We have got the stats ready to go as we go into our next map. Find out how these guys did. Johnny looked really strong. Unfortunately, it wasn't enough. Actually, solo carrying almost the entire team. And that's always unfortunate when you completely pop off, but it's not enough to get the win.
Yeah, 16 kills, 8 assists to 12 deaths, 320 points. Very effective on the site for a number that big. And that is huge. And that's unfortunate, but that's what you have to look at, really. The overall score lines for the rest of Black Bulls was a lot closer. Pretty much everyone on 200 points there, apart from Romeo at 139. Whereas the entire team of Jug struggled to hit that 200 mark. I lost a little bit behind there just by 1 point, but he was very effective with that sniper rifle. 11 assists, but huge point gain from him in the amount of frags he did connect together. The only downside is he wasn't as active on the point. With someone finding that many kills, you need the backup of the rest of the side to then lock down the site, and it just didn't happen. They almost got completely cut off, and Black Bulls was so much better in being able to sit on the point and just lock it down.
It's rare to see T-Mac have a, I don't want to call this a struggle game, because 133 points isn't terrible. But it's the lack of kills. You know, he didn't get no kills at the expense of lots of assists. He just got average assists and not many kills, and the same deaths as everyone else. Had a little bit of a struggle game, I think.
It's the fact we see him being more consistent as well. That's why it's odd, as he's normally one of the players that is towards the upper end of the Jug roster when we do get to these screens. So for T-Mac to be at the very bottom with a hard 5 frags to his name, it's definitely a struggle. Obviously only 1 kill behind Romeo though, but he was more effective in the assist game.
Now, as we load into what could be our next map, it's kind of hard to say how he thinks things are going to go, because, again, it's kind of what we talked about previously, where I feel like the comeback was being made by Knights of Honor purely just because Black Bulls were being a little bit too eager to finish things off. That is a mistake they can easily correct. They can very, very simply just say, hey, guys, let's not do that again, and keep doing the good stuff. It's one of those easy adaptations where it's, let's do the bits that worked and not do the stuff that didn't work, because the one bit that didn't work was how they were basically trying to just face first into the end of the game. And it was almost like uncharacteristic to see them do that, because normally they're not the kind of team that is that, like, you know, super eager. They like to play the slow game. They know that they can sort of stay consistent and win that way. But to be honest, I think that's going to be the first and last time we see him try it.
Yeah, it's always normally pretty slow, level-headed, very tactical style of gameplay that comes out. So a bit more aggression, maybe they're feeling it, maybe they know it works. They did pick up the win there and now are only 1 map away. So they've got a big buffer as well. That's the other standpoint. This is the position where they can play with risk if they want to, but they are a team that would like to just shut it down in free normally. If given the opportunity, they don't want to dilly-dally. They would just want to shut this down and end the game.
Exactly. I think if you're a competitive team and it's, hey, do we 3-0 this or do we 3-2? I think you're like, well, I want to go home and put some food on, mate. I want to kind of just get the job done. I want to finish my day and take home that cash. Because that thing about the GO4 Cups is that they don't contribute towards the overall Season 1 final standings, but they do contribute towards how much cash you get once every 2 weeks. And that's one thing about the GO4 Cups for Guns of Boom, is the fact that it's regular money. Extremely regular money to boot. So if you are a competitive player and you consider yourself really, really strong, this is a great way for you to just constantly make that change. You know, you can just make it every single time you play. For those at home that are interested, you can actually use our link down below, esl.im/boom sign up. We saw this from, you know, Overtake, which was essentially, you can essentially, you know, you can turn up and take it to some of our stronger teams and get 3rd place. You know, Forza Esports, in a very big upset, I will say. I think that is what I will call an upset. Forza Esports did not get top 3 this week, and they have the highest amount of points going into the Season 1 finals, and they're not top 3. What's going on? These new teams just turning up and doing it.
And it's a good reason for you guys at home to understand as well. You do have the opportunity to dive in, as Ketchup said, because it's still in its infancy. There's a lot going on right now, but we're at the build to greatness. Obviously, with LA coming up, you might struggle a little bit to try and secure a spot, but if you're a team like Overtake that has that dominance, there's always potential. And for Overtake to come in off the scene so fresh, so new, and look like they definitely have a lot to prove, that is a good bid for our invite spot later on. But we are into the action. Black Bulls versus Jug. 2 maps to nothing as we get underway. Already Jug have 143 points.
Now, that's actually kind of surprising. That must mean that, as we noted in, they won every fight and took every point. That is how much points you can get in control points. Look at this snowball effect. What's going on here?
Crazy already.
But they are destroying.
They are indeed, and the trades actually don't favor them because I lost with a huge double kill. That would have given them a good start, but they actually start to slip away. 400 points to 76. Not even 100 picked up for Black Bulls. This seems like it could actually be a rapid game in favor of Jug. They've just dominated from the get-go and not letting up.
I'm kind of wondering if the match is already won. Have Knights of Honor gained such a lead that, I mean, look at the difference. This is one of the most significant differences in points we have ever seen in the Go4s. I almost wonder if the damage is done. Is this the point of no return already?
Yeah, it seems like it's done for because they just are
halfway done
so rapidly. Yeah, there's just no way for Black Bulls to come back into this run. They're struggling. Dobot with a triple kill as well. Individually, they're all popping off. They're firing on all cylinders right now. Jug looking glorious.
We don't get to see the Black Bulls play on the Atrium very often. You know, could this be a map they're not very comfortable in? Could this be something they don't like playing on? I mean, look at it, 700 points already tallied up for Jug Knights of Honor. This has to be their map. I mean, I know I'm one for kind of almost calling a win too early, but just look at the difference here. Basically 500 points in the lead.
They're getting slaughtered as well. Ilos coming in from the sidelines, completely annihilates them. Cheeky little nade going to be popped out, so he just defends from the front line, sprints in with the confidence. They're battering people down. Ilos is still alive and just butchering everyone that dares to defy him. 970 points compared to the 500 of Black Bulls. This game is over already.
Yeah, pack it up, stick a fork in it, give it a nice little parcel and send it. It's over. It has to be. 500 points versus what's going to be 1,100. This is going to be not even halfway. Not even 2.5 minutes has passed. We've only just reached the halfway point of this map, and this game is already over. Knights of Honor walk easily into our next map, and it's almost like Atrium never took place.
Yeah, Black Bulls have been mopped up like a spilt drink. Jug have just annihilated them with only 1 sheet. That's all they took.
Oh my word. Look at it. That's it. Game over. Knights of Honor just breeze into that next map. Now, if you're Knights of Honor, you needed that win.
That was big, yeah.
I mean, 2.5 minutes? What's that? That's a long commercial. That's like not even the length of the break that we have to go into grand finals, and the map was already finished.
Yeah.
If you're gonna watch this, VOD back, right, which is like a set amount of hours, normally longer Twitch VODs or YouTube or however you're watching this, whether you're watching it on any of the online services, you watch a VOD that's like a set amount of hours, and like the smallest little change in the timeline to watch the match you want can be kind of hard, right? I imagine if you wanted to watch this game back, you would click a little bit to the left or right and you'd never see it. You'd have to go super far back. It would be super hard.
Yeah, a rapid game. I mean, what, we saw 400 points for Jug, really, before Black Bulls even hit 100. It was pretty crazy how rapidly they picked up a lead. And they dominated from the start. They had all 3 points in control for like 30 seconds. It was so hard for them to get anything going. All of the trades went down with both players dying on the point. So they weren't capturing it. They weren't having 1 to 2. It was always 2 to nothing. They could never get that initial point cap on the Black Bulls side. So it will push us to another map.
Because Black Bulls got destroyed at the very beginning of the map too, it pretty much meant I always kind of have a philosophy in control points where if you're able to take all 3 points immediately, I almost feel like that match is already done. Because if you're a super, super sick, talented team that can, you know, maintain super strong dominance on a map, if you hold it, and it's, you know, if you lose a point, it is what it is, concede it for a little bit and then inevitably kind of win the fight, take it back, kind of rinse, repeat. If you get all 3 points at the beginning, you just can't, there's no way they can come back. Because if you have all 3 and they take 1, just take it back or take the other one. And then you just constantly kind of play the numbers game and have 2 over that 1. And there's no way they can win. Because as long as you're taking those points, you're getting kills. And if you're getting kills, you're taking points, and that kind of just almost kind of goes hand in hand. And wow, I'm actually still reading over how one-sided that map was.
Yeah, it was really a whitewash. Black Bulls just had nothing going for them. They struggled a little bit there, obviously. Not in a great position for them. And you do wonder if it was just the early game. That is one of the real snowball effects of Guns of Boom as a whole. If you can get a big point lead in the early game, it's so hard to bring it back, especially on a 3-point cap map like that. It's just not going to work out for you. When you're not getting the trades either, if they had 1 to 2 points, then started to build up frags and could try and actually contest, might have worked. But it was literally no flags for that Black Bull sides for far too long.
They just weren't given an opening, were they?
Yeah.
They weren't even given the smallest chance. Normally when you make a big comeback, it's kind of off the back of an important play. It could be a group fight that goes in your favor. It could be that one moment someone on your team got a double or triple grenade to give that burst of points, which gives both, you know, a large score and a kind of staggered respawn. So you kind of almost catch it 3 versus 1 the entire time. All those kind of like, you know, they're just basics examples that we kind of see in this level of play. But nothing of the sort. We're actually going into our 4th map as we speak, I believe, and loading things up and getting ready. And wow, Subway Station, just like that. We haven't seen Subway today, but Subway, another one of those fast and furious maps, very, very comparable to Paradise Island. And even then, dare I say, more aggressive and more fast. I just noticed there's a Paradise Island advert.
Yeah, there is.
I've never seen that before. I'm glad they actually... I've never seen that. Little hint, you know.
Well, we are into the action. Excellent's already dominating as he is going huge, but T-Mac will slide in with a knife and butcher up Lord Mano. Comes into some little segments.
And getting some extra points to boot. Ilos picking a bit of a funky location, trying to be super sneaky. Divine King gets 1, but this, Knights of Honor. I'm interested. They seem to have taken what looks like a strong lead to me. It's being undone a little bit now. They have the point, but they're starting to trickle. T-Mac getting some important sniper kills.
Gianni as well. The nade and the follow-up stab as he will cut down. Excellent. It's on Lord Mano's shoulders to try and save the day. He is up close and trying to contest the point, but he is dead. They are struggling. Jug, already a huge lead. Looking good into these maps. They've been able to defend the site. Nice nade usage as well. Constant splash damage, keeping everyone low. And Black Bulls, they just can't get it together. They're charging in, but they're not strong enough.
They're trickling in as well, aren't they? It's kind of one at a time. And Lord Mano, I'm actually surprised Lord Mano survived that. He was taking minimal damage in return. And at the end of the day, if they're not going to land their shots, then it's, you know, it's not going to be Lord Mano's problem. He'll happily take it. And now, speaking of trickling in, it's now going to be Knights of Honor that are dying one at a time. T-Mac gets a knife kill, but that's going to be returned. Triple kill going out for Divine King. And that's a burst of points that they desperately needed. Excellence takes out Ilos. Divine King now gets a killing spree to boot. Extra points as well. This was a wonderful turn of events for Black Bulls, who now should be taking the lead.
Yeah, bringing it back as all of a sudden they switch it on its head. Huge point lead. They're building on it. Divine King does go down, but Excellence is the one that is making such a huge mark on the server. The constant triple kills that are coming through. If he can carry on finding frags, this could be just complete lunacy. Romeo will go down. Gianni gets caught in Mortal Kombat and should be slain, but actually survives. Sends Lord Mano down to the underworld and a push back on the bomb site now, Ryan. Yeah. Final fight.
We saw Gianni win that really important fight there, that he was pretty much one shot away from going down, and I'm super, super happy to see him come off better in that, because that's one of those crazy fights that they're so hard, near impossible to win. But it's not going to be enough just yet. We have a super close game. Black Bulls, this is their match point. If they win this map, they're actually winning the tournament. If Knights of Honor win this map, they're going to stay alive and take us down to our final playoff situation, something that we have almost never seen in the GO4s. Black Bulls looking to make it easier said than done, though, as it's first to 1,000 in King of the Hill. This tournament is nearly over.
So close. The contention on the site, neither side wanting to give up the lead as it constantly goes back and forth. Dobar with the King and Divine King, but he does go down. 875 to 870 as they're trying to add to it. They want to defend the site. It's getting a bit close now. 900 to 912 as they're sat neck and neck. Excellence grabs the site control. The sideline swipe for Divine King. They're attempting to help each other and stay alive, but they lose the control of the site. It's literally neck and neck, Ryan.
Either way, this tournament is about to end one way or the other. Black Bulls, they just need 2 more, but no, Knights of Honor. T-Mac gets the clutch kill at the last second. And just like that, we're now going to be going down to our 5th and final map, T-Map. You know that is the sniper shot to end all sniper shots. That was a shot they missed. They were probably going to lose. And if he landed it, they were going to win and take us to where we are now.
Yeah, that is huge. The snipiest timeline, as he does find that frag and be pushing us on to the 5th and final map. And this provides for a bit of a slobber knocker. It looked like it was going to be a Frio, but instead it's gone to all 5 maps. Are we going to see the reverse sweep?
I feel like given the momentum that Knights of Honor have to be feeling right now, surely reverse 3-0 is the most likely of scenarios, because if Black Bulls, they had the first 2 maps were so one-sided, and it looked like a 3-0 was so possible. But kind of after that Paradise Island situation where the comeback was almost made, I almost wonder, like, have Knights of Honor kind of like just unlocked that next thing they needed?
Yeah.
You know, that one little thing of let's be just a tiny bit more organized. Let's try and focus our shots a little bit more. Let's try and be a little bit more careful fresh off the spawn. Let's not run face first into people when we know we're going to go down. Like, whatever it is, it's working wonders because I've just taken the next 2 maps and, dare I say, this entire tournament. We said earlier that momentum is something they need, and they need something to boost morale. A reverse 3-0 in Grand Finals against the only team in the world that is actually confirmed for the $120,000 Season 1 Finals, beating them now, under these circumstances, is like best case scenario.
Yeah, this is huge for them. For the morale of the side and for everyone to be pumped up and to also reset themselves as a top team and not just the team that's sort of been left behind in terms of the meta changing of the game, evolving, to show they're still on pace with the current top squads. It would be a huge win for them. And it's looking like it could possibly shape up that way. Black Bulls struggling a little bit, looking like a slightly overweight dog trying to fit for a cat flap. It's just not really working out for him.
But not through lack of trying. I feel like right now, I was really worried to see Knights of Honor. It felt like they'd almost fallen off in competitive. You know, not to say they're a bad team, because by no means they're bad, because they're consistently getting top 4 in these semis. So, you know, they're clearly good enough to be in this level of competition. But when you compare them to the world's best, you know, at the very least, EU's best, because this is the region they're currently competing in. You know, they're not going to have a chance to fight North America unless they qualify for the Season 1 Finals, where these regions will go head-to-head. I was worried they'd fallen off, and I feel like even if they now don't win the tournament, off what they were able to achieve today with those 2 maps on the verge of being a reverse 3-0, even if this last map isn't, like, you know, if it's one-sided against them and Black Bulls win anyway, I think they can leave this tournament proud of what they've achieved. They're taking home some cash, they've done really well, they're in Grand Finals, and against the best team in the world currently, they have been able to really make them sweat and brought them to the brink. How it's going to go, who knows? I actually want to see this. We have stats to show you guys. And there's been a couple of players on that map that were just going out of their mind. And Johnny was the big one.
Yeah, 12 kills to his name, 281 points there. Only 9 deaths as well. So really head and shoulders above the rest of the competition. The entire side of Knights of Honor looking slightly better over in terms of their average score. It's a shame for Black Bulls, though. It very nearly was a win for them. They were just mere seconds away. And that's going to be a kicker, knowing you were that close to potentially picking it up when you had a little bit of a buffer. Now you've lost that safety net. There is nothing that sets you 2 squads apart. It's literally a best of 1 to see who wins now.
Now, one thing I find interesting, which I want to bring attention to, look at Johnny versus Divine King, right? They had the same amount of kills. They had just short of the same amount of deaths, but it's 248 points versus 281 points. That in itself means that Johnny got more headshots, he got more grenade kills, he got maybe more knife kills, maybe he got more triple kills, maybe he got more killing sprees. It's so important to make sure that if you can optimize an extra version of a kill, you have to take it. Because look at they have basically the exact same performance, and Johnny's performance, if Divine King was able to mirror Johnny's, maybe Black Bulls would have won that.
Yeah, the additional 40 points for that side literally would have saved them. And that's just how it comes down to, you know, you've got to know, a lot of Guns of Boom in terms of the mechanical understanding of the game is weapon prioritization, right? You need to know when to have out your scout rifle so you're quicker, so you can rotate, when to have out your rifle so you can get those early shots off with the porcupine, when to use the nade, when to stab, because if they're in close range, not only is it going to be an effective way to really tear their health down if they have no armor, but even just for the additional points bonus you're going to get from killing someone with that knife. It's a major playing point. And definitely something that sets the key players aside.
I was looking, after we were talking about that, I was looking at everyone on that bracket. and the kills were almost identical.
Yeah.
The kills on everyone's side were almost identical, but lo and behold, here comes the difference in points, and that's why getting those extra bonuses are super important. Now, I believe we're going into our 5th and final map, and to be honest, at this stage, it's very hard to call, because Black Bulls, they've had 2 maps to essentially almost wake up, which they may not have done before. But if you're Knights of Honor and you've just won 2 maps really dominantly, and you've just come back looking as strong as ever, we're going into Skyscrapers, which is a very, very crucial map. I don't know what it is about Skyscrapers, but I feel like the pivotal matches are always fought here.
It always comes down to the clutch rounds in Skyscrapers, and that is the most aggressive thing I've ever seen.
What? He just ran face first into a team of 4?
Yeah, I don't know. Divine King just running in as if he's had a couple of pints in the spoons. The confidence was on display.
It was, but I feel like he had so much time to back out of that decision. He just stayed put. What? Well, we'll think about that later. Either way, Black Bulls have been able to get a couple of kills anyway. Knights of Honor currently in the lead. And as we speak, things are starting to become a little bit more pivotal. Black Bulls, plenty of time to come back. Excellence doesn't want to overextend. Catches Yanni on the right, unaware of the rest, trying to close in. He's going to need assistance from the rest of the team, and unfortunately looking a little bit too late to arrive. And now Black Bulls there on borrowed time. Dobar's going to respawn, use his invincibility to jump down, and just be a pain in the backside.
This is a messy matchup as well so far in this first round. Not clear-cut. No buddy system in play. Everyone just constantly pushing. The aggression's on display. They're fighting tooth and nail for this. You can see it's a lot more hectic than how we normally see these go down because these isolated fights, Ryan. We're seeing constant 1v3 fights that are going on just out of sheer aggression.
And it's definitely too aggressive. I think it's uncharacteristic to see Black Bulls kind of just run face first into teams like we are seeing them do right now. Maybe they might just believe that, they might just straight up not think there's someone around the corner. Like Divine King, like if he went around that corner, he would have gone into another 3 versus 1 that he could not have survived. I've seen a couple of moments where they're running headfirst into some spawn protection as well, where they're just having to jump down while completely invincible. Like right here. And Dobar, wait, Dobar, he was behind you. Turn around. There he is, gets him eventually. Going a little bit too fast for his own good right there, but he's able to pick it up regardless. Knights of Honor in the lead, just about to reach their halfway point.
Oh, the miss of nades. Lord Man are going to be punished because of it. Unfortunately, didn't connect that hit onto T-Mac. Divine King and Excellence start to bring it back ever so slightly. 300 to 230 in terms of the points right now. Black Bulls, they need a second win to try and save the day, or it seems that Jug might start to lock it down here.
I think they're just looking like the best team. I don't know what their adaptation has been really in such a short space of time, but they seem to have unlocked the stuff. Dobar gets a headshot, which gives him that extra bonus. Divine King is going to drop a double kill for Dobar. Make that a triple. Yes, he's died, but the points he just gained, more than worth it.
Yeah, this is huge. The concentrate's coming back through. Excellent's going to pop the head of T-Mac. There's a little cheeky frag on Lord Mano as well. 300 to 400. 100 points between these two sides. It might be their saving grace in TDM. It's so hard to get that extra oomph unless we see some rapid frags coming in. They need to be big, high-hitting point makers.
I think this is a dangerous position. Normally it's back and forth and it's even, and normally the last 100 points to go is when it matters, but now it doesn't. Knights of Honor are basically 110 points in the lead, and they just need to get a little bit more stuff on the go, but I wonder if it's going to be enough for Black Bulls to recover. I feel like they actually had too much of a deficit here.
Seems like it's done at this point. Black Bulls looking like a rundown fairground. There's just not a lot to go on as they are struggling. Romeo slays himself as well. That is never good for morale.
I mean, icing on the cake, really, but not the kind of one you want. Knights of Honor continuing that group attack. They collect heads one at a time, and I feel like they just need one more. Divine King runs away, but even he is so weak. They just need to pick him off with a bit of sniper fire, and he's going to go down. Ilos drops, but I feel like this might be a pack in and let it get done situation. Romeo's running in, can't drop. T-Mac just needs one more shot. They're so weak. Romeo falls, and Knights of Honor, the reverse 3-0 in Grand Finals.
Yeah.
How about that?
That's huge. They bring it back. Jug are going to be very happy with their performance. Definitely setting the precedent that they are a team that can still contend with the best. They've fallen behind in recent days, but a more familiar team there.
Yeah, I feel like we've kind of almost gone back in time. Whenever we start doing these GO4s, Knights of Honor were like, oh yeah, they're going to win. And as we went into the European Invitational, they were the #1 team, they were the #1 seed. We expected them to look the strongest, and after a couple of weak performances, I feel like they've been able to climb back up on top and show that they are still one of the strongest teams, except for that bit right there. Except for that one specific moment where he ran past him. I'm glad we got that replay.
That one awkward part. But the rest of it was pretty good. Jug, very, very effective. A whole lot better, and definitely showing that there is more to come for them. I'm excited to see how they do. If they make it back to LA for another time, obviously last time at LAN, it seemed like the LAN environment was what broke them. Maybe with the changes now, they'll play better.
Yeah, with Black Bulls being pretty much the #1 team in the business so far, being able to defeat them, not only defeat them in grand finals, but be on the brink of defeat yourselves, which is normally something Knights of Honor were unable to do. They would be very visibly distressed in person. When they were on the back foot, they didn't look comfortable, and the second they had tasted defeat, they didn't really know how to recover. But I feel like this is more of a poetic way to say that when we're 2 maps down, we win the next 3 and take out the tournament versus the best in the business. Like, that is the perfect way to recover and show not only themselves, but all of us, the viewers and us on the desk and everyone else that has noticed their lack of being able to recover from those situations. That's how they do it. We have the final bracket to show you guys just what the journey has been. Oh my word! What a congratulations to Knights of Honor. That was one of the most impressive runs I think we've seen in tournament so far for Guns of Boom.
Yeah, big stuff. Obviously, good to see them back on form, and hopefully we only see more as days go on for Jug.
We can see Overtake there as well. I mean, they brought it to Jug as well. They brought it to the guys and looked super strong at the same time. It's been a day of storylines, I think. The slightly newer blood in Overtake, seeing them in the semi-finals and take it to Knights of Honor. I mean, how different would the finals even have been if Overtake were able to win that match in semis? We may never know. They were able to 3-0 in the 3rd place playoff, and Knights of Honor with the legendary grand finals run. And that's something that we're going to be talking about for some time, I think, really showing that they've been able to bring themselves back into top form. Thank you very much for joining us on a European side, but by all means, this is only half of the job. We have the second half of this stream left to go, which is going to be the North American Cup, where we're going to see what North America has to offer for the GO4s. See you guys momentarily as we set up our North American bracket. Cheers for watching, and we'll see you then.